Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movie news, and all that sorts of good stuff. Now, things on set can get a little tense, so hopefully a fight between Robert and I won't break out and stab one another. Here's Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, ladies and gentlemen. Robert, how you doing, sir?
Well, John, you know, I don't carry implements of any kind when I'm on your show, just in case, you know, some real heated debates happen.
Really heated debate. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Robert was just reminding me about, who's directing that one? Robert Zemeckis. Robert Zemeckis' film, Anne Hathaway film called The Witches. I don't know if you guys heard about this. It's like, I guess, what was it, a grip and
a rigger? They said a rigger and an electrician or something.
Got into some sort of argument, and one of them got stabbed on the set of a movie. That's always good for morale around set, so hopefully that won't break out here today. But listen, guys, we do have a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about here today. Should they move forward, and will they move forward with an American Werewolf in London thing with all the Max Landis stuff going on? Hey, did you know that Anna opened tonight? Yeah, nobody else did either, so we're going to talk about that. Early reports on Spider-Man Far From Home. First reactions are out. Some are suggesting it might be the best Spider-Man movie yet. That and a few things more. But guys, we're going to get things started off the top with this. You know, Spider-Man Far From Home is coming out. And ever since Venom came out, remember that movie, guys? The movie everybody said was going to fail because Spider-Man's not in it, had no chance of succeeding. Well, went on to make $800 million at the box office. But ever since that happened, and for the most part, audiences liked it, a lot of people have wondered, could we ever see finally Spider-Man and Venom, Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Venom, do some sort of crossover? Now, some people like me thought, well, that's probably unlikely given the nature of the deals between Sony and Marvel, and that doesn't seem like it's likely to ever happen, sort of thing. Well, guess what? There is somebody out there who seems to think there could be a chance that a Spider-Man Venom crossover movie could happen. And it's some loser named Kevin Feige, who just might happen to know these things. Kevin Feige, this was in an interview, I believe, with Cinema Blend. Kevin Feige was asked about the possibilities of maybe could we ever see the Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, and Venom do a crossover at some point. And this is what Kevin Feige actually said. He said, I think probably. It's up to Sony. Sony has both those characters and has Venom in their world. I don't know what their plans are for another Venom or if they're going to do that, but it seems likely at some point. So Kevin Feige is saying, Kevin Feige, who is normally close to the vest Kevin, who is normally play dumb Kevin, and by the way, there is a little bit of play dumb in this statement. We'll get to that in a second. But he's saying, yeah, probably. It's like, I'm sorry, wait a minute, time out. What? Probably? We're probably going to be getting one of these Spider-Man. That seems odd. Now, there is a little bit of playing dumb here, Rob, because one of the things he says there, he goes, I don't know what their future plans for Venom are or if they're going to make another one. He knows Sony's making another one. Hell, we all know. They're already making it. They're already in pre-production on it. They're doing the development on it. We know they're doing. So he's playing a little bit dumb there. Oh gosh, I don't know if they're going to do another Venom movie. Well, obviously they are. So Rob, this raises a couple of interesting questions. Number one, we all know that because of the particular details of the Sony and Marvel deal, Sony isn't supposed to use a live-action Spider-Man in their world while they've got a live-action Spider-Man going on in Marvel. So, I mean, that's understandable. That's totally understandable. Marvel doesn't really want to join their MCU universe with Sony's, for the lack of a better term right now, Venomverse. And yet, here we are with Kevin Feige saying it's likely that we're going to see these things cross over. Now, there weren't any more details other than that. Rob, you hear this statement. What's your takeaway on this?
Well, I thought it was inevitable. You know, eventually,
remember, nothing's happened yet.
No, like Feige said, Sony controls the rights to Spider-Man, and they've had a very fruitful collaboration with Marvel. Yes, they have, and it's been very good for everyone. Now, I can't imagine that they would take Spider-Man back and hold him close to their vest because it's worked so well. I mean, I think part of the success of Venom was due to the fact that Spider-Man had led the way, and Spider fans know that Venom is a part of the Spider universe. And I think that why can't they both exist? You know, we'll see. I as long as we get good movies, John, I'm all for it. I want to see Venom and Spider-Man go at it.
I think that could be interesting. Look, I said for a while, because a lot of people are like, everybody should boycott Venom so that Sony doesn't take Spider-Man back. And I'm like, hello, you want Venom to succeed so Sony can see, hey, we don't need to have Spider-Man in our universe for it to work. We can have Spider-Man in the MCU and make lots of money, and we can have our own universe without Spider-Man and make lots of money, and it's a best of both worlds. You should want Venom. So I agree with you. I don't see any reality here about why Sony at this point, with Venom being successful, we got Morbius on the way, their collaboration with Marvel on having Spider-Man in the MCU has been fantastic so far. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later with Far From Home. So I don't know. Are we seeing a little bit of give here that maybe Kevin Feige might acknowledge they're kind of in the same reality? Or maybe, I don't know what he's thinking. And by the way, let's be clear here. Kevin Feige did not just confirm, because I already know people are going to run that. It's confirmed Spider-Man and Venom. No, it's not. Kevin Feige said, I think it's likely. That's not a confirmation of anything. It may never happen, but it's going to be interesting that if it does, what gives? Does Sony give up something? Does Marvel give up something? Because something's got to give for a movie like that to happen. And it's going to be interesting to see what do those things give. So listen, guys, I want to know what you guys think. And we're going to make that today's question of the day. Our question of the day is simply this. Kevin Feige is saying it's likely. Do you think it's actually going to happen? Do you think they're actually going to get a Spider-Man with Tom Holland and a Tom Hardy Venom crossover movie? Now, I put that poll up on my Twitter, and you can go to my Twitter right now. You can see my Twitter handle right there. And you can vote on this right now if you wish. I put this up just before the show started. So let's take a look and see what you guys are saying right now. Question of the day, will Kevin Feige says it's likely. Will it actually happen? Right now, about 1,300 of you have voted. 63% of you actually believe that this is going to happen. And right now, 37% of you are saying, no, it won't happen. We'll check in on this poll again a little bit later in the show, probably after we do the movie news feed. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is actually going to happen? And if so, what gives to make it happen? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Okay, guys, before we get into our main topics here today, I want to take a minute and give a word to our sponsor of the John Campea Show here today, our friends over at fanjecture.com. You guys know I'm a sports guy. I love fantasy sports. Fanjecture.com is basically fantasy sports for film fans. New contests are open today, so here's a quick word from fanjecture.com.
Show off your box office prediction skills with Fanjecture. Fantasy sports for film fans. Play games like Fantasy Film Book, a sportsbook style game where the top films from the box office are matched up and given a spread and a total. Do your research and make your picks. Track your results as the box office numbers roll in. Compete for prizes every week. Always absolutely free. Visit fanjecture.com to learn more and play today.
And we want to thank, of course, our friends over at fanjecture.com for being a sponsor of the John Campea Show. Go on over there, sign up, compete against me, and let's see how we do. All right, with that down, let's move on to our main topics of the day. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You guys come up with our main topics by going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you get there, fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. So with that down, let's go to our first main topic. And our first main topic today comes to us from our friend Santiago Ruzelot Vespa, who writes, "Good morning, John. So I have great news. There are going to be 2 original Pixar films in 2020. One is Onward. That's the one that we've already seen the trailer for with Tom Holland and Chris Pratt doing voices in it. But the other one unveiled today is called Soul, and it's directed by Peter Docter. I'm so excited because Inside Out and Up are 2 of my favorite films of all time, also directed by him, and this guy can't do no wrong. The details are scarce, but it looks like it's gonna be crazy." All right, thanks a lot for that, Santiago. And yes, they did announce the new Pixar movie that I believe is coming only 3 or 4 months after Onward comes out, and we're just learning about Onward now. So we're gonna get 2 of them in that year. And again, if you needed any other reason to get excited about another Pixar movie. Peter Docter, the guy who de facto took over for John Lasseter as kind of the head creative guy at Pixar. He is the director of Up. He is the director of Inside Out. My God, I love both of those movies. Now, you're right. The details are scarce. These are all the details we have on the new Pixar film Soul right now. Ever wonder where your passion, your dreams, and your interests come from? What is it that makes you? In 2020, Pixar Animation Studios takes you on a journey from the streets of New York City to the cosmic realms to discover the answers to life's most important questions. Rob, I got to tell you, if I didn't know any better and you just read that description off to me and said, what movies, I would have said, this sounds like Inside Out. That kind of sounds a little different, but it sounds a little bit like a description of Inside Out. Dude, I love Up. I believe it was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. I loved Inside Out. I thought that was touching and emotional and hilarious and funny. This guy is now heading this one up. I know nothing else about it, but dude, it's Pixar and it's Peter Docter. That's all I need to know. I'm all on board for this. What do you make of this?
Oh, come on! How exciting is that? It sounds like Pixar's doing their version of Terrence Malick's Tree of Life.
A little bit, yes.
And you know, I Criterion released a new version of Tree of Life, I think, this year, and I love that movie. And the idea that Pixar's we're gonna make movies about toys, but now we're gonna go to the essence of life itself. You know, what makes you you? I'm like, well, that's not a very big nugget to chew on. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. This sounds, I can't wait to see where they're going. If they cross Inside Out with Up and it becomes some existential, like, uplifting version in the cosmic realms of what it means to be human, I mean, I think that's where Pixar was going to go anyway. They're going to just finally go full on, let's tell you about what life means. You know,
and
not that they haven't been already.
Yeah.
But they're just going to go full on, no pretense. We're going to call it Soul, and it's going to be the most awesome Pixar movie ever. I'm in.
I mean, and that's the thing. That's what happens when you are a studio like Pixar, that cars aside, when you just spend over a decade cranking out not just high quality, unbelievably ludicrous quality after unbelievably ludicrous quality of film, whether it's a Ratatouille, which is insanely awesome, whether it's the Toy Story films, whether it's Monsters, Inc., or whether it's Coco, or whether it's Inside Out, or whether it's Up, or whether it's WALL-E, on and on and on and on, that they're at a place now that they just say, we're putting out a movie. Yay! And everybody will just get excited because they've earned it. They've earned it. And I'm excited about this. So what do you think, guys, about Soul? I know the details are scarce, but does the fact just that it's a Pixar movie instantly instill in you a lot of optimism for it, or not at that point yet? Jump down the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today is submitted by Derek Aitken, who writes, I know An American Werewolf in London is your favorite horror movie. It is my number one all-time favorite horror movie. Considering the allegations against Max Landis, do you think the remake will still happen with him attached? I haven't seen a single person that knows him defend him. Many people who have met him have said nothing positive about him. Wouldn't working with him be a disaster for the studio? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Derek. And look, I want to say this off the top about this whole situation. What I do not like doing on the John Campea Show is talking celebrity gossip and talking about the life of celebrities away from the camera. What I like to talk about is movies and TV and things like that. Sometimes those two things intersect. Sometimes a drama going on with an individual celebrity off camera directly has an effect on what's going on in the movies, and so we'll touch on that. So I do want to talk about that a little bit, but I'm going to limit our discussion on Max Landis himself to simply this. I don't know for fact anything about any of the allegations against Max Landis. I don't know because I wasn't there. So let's just say that right up front. For those of you who don't know, a number of women have come forward and made several serious accusations against him. All I can tell you is my personal experience with him, and that's it. I've met Max Landis on a couple of occasions, and while, yes, the common refrain about Max Landis is that he comes across a bit of a douchebag, he does, but I will also just be honest with you. The couple of experiences I had being around him. And, we had him in our studio once. Schnepp brought him on Heroes one time, and he came across a little bit like a douchebag. But I will confess that hanging out afterwards around the office, chatting for an hour or whatever, he came across to me as a very nice guy. I'm not saying he is. I'm just telling you my honest experience. That was my experience for what it is. I will also say this. One of the main people who have kind of sparked this whole thing going on with Max is someone he was in a relationship before, a girl by the name of Whitney Moore. If you guys have been watching my stuff for any period of time, you know that Whitney Moore worked with me when I did my show, with Rob as well, when we did our show Film HQ for Lionsgate. Whitney Moore, I can tell you this about Whitney Moore. This is how I describe, Rob and I were talking about her earlier. This is the best way to describe her. She's a joy grenade. She gets thrown into a room and explodes joy all over the place. She's just a bright burst of sunshine. She enters a room, she elevates. She is one of the most pleasant, wonderful people. I can't say enough about her character. I mean, now granted, she and I didn't have a super deep relationship or anything like that, but I got to work with her for a number of months. She's a super high quality person. I've always enjoyed being around her. She's a terrific person. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Now let's get on and actually talk about the important thing here, which is American Werewolf in London. This is, Rob, my number one all-time favorite horror film to this day. To this day, no movie has ever scared the crap out of me like American Werewolf in London. Not to be confused with American Werewolf in Paris. Oh. So let's be clear about that.
Ouch, John. Ouch.
But, I am one of these people, Rob, and you know this about me. I'm all for remaking everything. I don't care. If you do a remake and it sucks, I still got the original. If you make a remake and it's good, yay, we have another good film to enjoy. So I don't care. I'm even okay with my all-time favorite horror film, them taking a crack at remaking it. No problem with that. The question at hand is, at this point, and of course for a while, Max Landis was connected to be bringing this thing to life. I gotta believe this is absolutely dead in the water. And not only dead in the water with, say, Max being attached, but dead in the water, period, simply by association. I can't see, Rob, at this point, and maybe I'm wrong, but I personally can't see at this point anybody or any studio wanting to touch this with a 1,000-foot pole. So I personally think this thing is probably dead in the water. How do you see it?
Yeah, it doesn't look good for the American Werewolf remake. And I too, it's not my favorite horror film, but it's one of the greats. I mean, I love An American Werewolf in London. If any of you viewers out there, it is from 1981, so it's been around for a while. It is one of the great horror films. It came out in a period of time where it was a golden age of horror, and that film truly, I thought, was a standout. I love the performances. I love the music. I love the gore. The Rick Baker effects, the transformation stuff. It's truly a wonderful film. So maybe the upside is, I know you just said you like, I don't care if you remake a movie. I just hope the remake has a reason for existing. And if there is a different, like John Carpenter's The Thing versus the original The Thing, or Cronenberg's The Fly, or Philip Kaufman's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or even the remake of The Blob, Chuck Russell's remake of The Blob, all were really solid movies that I think probably surpassed the original in every way. And that's great. I love that. But American Werewolf, I don't know, man. It's so good. And they would use CG for the transformation effects. And the transformation effects, like when David Naughton's looking at his hand and it's stretched.
Oh, yeah. That was great.
Some of the greatest practical effects ever done. It won an Academy Award. It won the first Academy Award for special effects makeup at the Oscars.
Didn't even know that.
It did.
You are a history book, sir.
And I just don't think it's going to happen, John.
Well, guys, what do you think is going to happen with this? Do you think, given the current context and situation, that there is any chance that An American Werewolf in London could actually get remade at this point? Or maybe you're one of the people that doesn't even think it should have been remade at all anyway. Jump down to the comments section and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today comes to us from Don Kitzman, who writes, "Hey, John. Since joining Marvel, Men in Black International is the 7th non-MCU film headlined by Hemsworth that was a box office dud. I'm surprised he hasn't faced more scrutiny about his viability as a lead actor. I suppose this is reason enough for him to stay in the MCU." All right, thanks a lot for the question, Don. And you know what? I've been getting a lot of messages from people. Don is just one person who has written to me over the past, even before Men in Black came out, suggesting like, hey, can Chris Hemsworth work as a lead actor? Can he work? I mean, is he bankable? Because a number of films have come out, not really performing well, all this kind of stuff. Will this make people stop and look at him? And I'll say this, to their point, there are numbers that kind of do raise the question and make it legitimate to at least, at any rate, raise the question of, can Chris Hemsworth be considered a bankable star? Because if we look at, say, the last 10 films that he's either headlined or been a feature in that were not MCU related, it doesn't paint a good picture. Men in Black International right now is struggling mightily and is going to end up losing the studio a bunch of money. It's sitting at $110 million. That'll go up, of course, but it ain't going to break even. Bad Times at the El Royale, which I actually thought was a pretty good movie, grand total worldwide, $31.8 million. 12 Strong, which he was the lead in, 67.4 worldwide. Ghostbusters, which he wasn't the lead, but he was one of the featured. Honestly, I thought he was the best part of Ghostbusters. I really did. That movie lost a ton of money, brought in a big number, $229 million, but in relation to how much it cost, it actually lost the studio money. Then we get to maybe the worst film on this list, The Huntsman: Winter's War. Really lost the studio a lot of money with that. Was, of course, was the sequel to the first Huntsman, $164.9 million. In the Heart of the Sea, directed by Ron Howard, which instantly looked to me like a Best Picture contender, and I was so disappointed. Actually, I take it back. That might be the worst movie on this list. I was so excited because I love Ron Howard and I love Chris Hemsworth. That movie struggled mightily, wasn't all that good, it failed to crack $100 million. Then Vacation, again, that was an Ed Helms lead, but he was featured in a lot of the marketing, made $104 million. Black Hat, I take it all back. That's the worst film on this list. He did Black Hat. That movie, that might be the biggest, financially, the biggest flop on this list. Black Hat makes 19. He was the big lead in that. Then he did Rush, which is probably the best film on this list that he did with Daniel Bruhl, but it struggled to find a big audience, made $90.2 million. And then, of course, he did Red Dawn, which completely flopped, lost a lot of money, made $44.8 million. That's the last 10 films Chris Hemsworth has done outside of the MCU. Rob, when I look at those numbers, it's hard to argue that Chris Hemsworth is a totally bankable star. It's very difficult to make that argument when you look at the numbers. The numbers tell a very, very different story. But I would suggest the era of the truly bankable movie star is gone. There is no movie star you can put into a movie that guarantees it will make money. At best, you're talking about a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson that putting him in a movie guarantees it'll make more money than it would have. Look at Rampage. That movie shouldn't have made $10, and it was a big hit. But even that bad Skyscraper movie, Skyscraper on Fire movie, that didn't do great, but it made a hell of a lot more money than it would have without him. I would suggest that probably Chris Hemsworth is in that category. Look, very few of those movies were strong movies. And very few of those movies we just talked about had big audience potential appeal. All you can do is say, could his presence in it maybe have brought in more than it would have otherwise? Because I would make that argument. Look, I don't think 12 Strong makes $67 million if he's not the lead in it. I'll be honest with you. I don't think Vacation makes over $100 million if they didn't show Chris Hemsworth in the trailers. I just don't think it makes that much. I don't think Huntsman's Winter War makes as much as six. So while these movies have disappointed, I believe an argument can be made that Chris Hemsworth's presence in them probably helped them do a little bit better than they would have. But Rob, I'll go one step further. Not only can you not, ask, the actor won't bring in big money. None of them will. Robert Downey Jr., he's only done one non-MCU film, if you don't count Chef, which he only had a tiny scene in. If you don't count Chef, Robert Downey Jr. in the last 8 years has done one film outside of the MCU. You know what it was? The Judge, with Robert Duvall. Not a very good movie, and financially flatlined. Nobody went to go see it. Even though it had Tony Stark, Iron Man, he's the hottest thing in the world. Nobody went to go see it. So does that mean that you can't? So I would suggest this, Rob. From my point of view, all you as a studio can do is ask the actor to bring a great performance. The rest is up to the director and then up to the marketing departments. And did you have a good movie to start with? All you can ask a movie star to do is give a great performance. And while I go down like this list, a lot of these films, Chris Hemsworth, I believe, gave a great performance. I thought, even though I don't think Men in Black is very good, I thought he was quite solid in it. I thought he was awesome in Bad Times at the El Royale. I thought he was quite strong in 12 Strong. He was the funniest part of Ghostbusters. He's the only thing that was watchable about The Huntsman. He gave a really good performance in The Heart of the Sea. He was funny in Vacation. Black Hat, I think even he knew he was in for something bad there, so I'm not going to say anything great about him there. I loved him in Rush. He was so good, and Red Dawn was Red Dawn. But that's all you can ask an actor to do, Rob, is you can just ask them to come in, give credibility to the movie with your name power. He does that. And give a solid performance to elevate the movie as much as you can individually make it elevate. The rest is up to the director, the studio, and the marketing department. So, is he bankable? I don't think so, but nobody is. Nobody's really bankable. I just think he's a great actor. Studios like working with him. And I think people find a movie a little bit more appealing when his name's attached. That's how I see it at any rate, Rob. This is a huge issue, but like, if you had to sum it up, how do you look at this thing?
Well, I think Chris Hemsworth, his career is a perfect example of everything that's wrong with Hollywood right now, in the sense you pointed it out. The guy's got charisma to burn.
Yeah.
One of the most handsome dudes ever to be on movies. Funny. He's a great screen presence. You can't take your eyes off him. He's a great actor, a good team player, and everybody loves him. But look what they're putting him in. Half that list is remakes or sequels. And the other half is a movie like Rush, Prestige Project. That was a great movie.
It was
Rush
great.
is legitimately a great movie. He was a big part of that movie. The problem is we're seeing all of these. His career is sort of, in my mind, a victim of the changing tides of the movie business as a whole. His people are trying to put him in great movies, which are prestige projects for the studios, but the studios themselves are going through this sea change. On one hand, they're making epic movies like the MCU and these big franchise properties. That's what people want. They want spectacle. And Chris Hemsworth has more talent than that. That's why you put him in a movie like Rush, which is not the MCU. That's still a great movie, but how do you get audiences today to go see a movie like Rush? We got Ford versus Ferrari coming up with both Jason Bourne himself and Batman.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing that movie. I mean, it's
awesome.
James Mangold who made Wolverine and made, obviously, Logan. And that movie should make $500 million. It's not. It's not going to make that, because people are like, why do I want to watch a movie about Ford versus Ferrari? It's just the world has changed. And I think Chris Hemsworth so far has been caught up. One day they're going to figure out what to do with him. But now... the money doesn't lie, but I also think in his case it's not the only story, because he classes up every movie he's in.
He does.
He makes every movie he's in better, even if it's a Huntsman. And Black Hat, directed by Michael Mann, who directed Heat and Thief, incredible director. That he even did a director's cut of Black Hat. There's a director's cut.
I
of Black
didn't
Hat.
know that.
There's a director's cut. I haven't seen it because I haven't released it on home video, but I mean, Chris Hemsworth is a great actor and by all accounts a great guy who's stuck. He needs to get out, and he needs, just like Robert Downey Jr. The guy was nominated for Best Actor at the Academy Awards for Chaplin, as we talked about yesterday, and all he's doing is MCU movies. Maybe he's going to do another Sherlock Holmes film.
Well, to be fair, the MCU movies saved his career.
Well, yeah, they did, and they've made him hundreds of millions of dollars, I would imagine.
And you raise an interesting point about Ford v Ferrari, because I think you're absolutely spot on. Even if the movie is even better than it looks, and it looks pretty awesome.
It looks great.
I remember we saw the first footage for it at CinemaCon. Rob and I were sitting together in the theater, and that played, and then the footage just ended, and Rob and I just turned our heads to each other like this, like, holy crap,
that
looks
wildly
good.
entertaining.
But and I think you're right. There's no way this movie makes $500 million. But I would also say, I don't think there was ever an era where that movie makes $500 million. You know what I mean? It's just that the sliding scale has changed a little bit. And you're right. I think you make a great observation about it's kind of a product of the times.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't make $500 million, but I think everybody would go see it. It was an adult-oriented kind of a film. The problem is, movies have now changed. They're all roller coaster rides. All they're big. The
big ones
event marquee. There's still lots of indie films going, but the disparity, a movie like Ford versus Ferrari could have made should have made $150 to $200 million if it's as good as we think it's going to be, and then it would be in the Oscar conversation, and people would be going to see it. Adult audiences would be flocking to see that movie. But I think that, it's dealing with a situation from decades ago. I don't think young people who are going to these spectacle movies have much interest. And from a studio perspective, there's still filmmakers that want to make prestige projects, but no one's going to see them, unfortunately.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I'm going to go out on a limb right now. I think as long as this movie turns out to be even close to being as good as it looks, like if it gets like an 80% plus on RT, I think this movie will make over 200 million. And we're going way off topic because now we're not talking about Chris, but I think Ford v Ferrari will make over 200 million. I think it's got enough appeal, but it sounds like we're on the same page when it comes to Hemsworth. Like,
yeah, man.
I like the way you put it. He classes up every movie he's in. He really does. He brings it. He delivers. So yeah, if I'm a producer, I do not hesitate to put him in my movies. I don't hesitate for a second to put him in my movies. I don't care what those other movies did. I know he will bring the goods, and I'm totally good with it. So anyway, guys, what do you think about all that? If you're a producer of a movie, do those numbers of past movies he's been in, even though he only has so much influence over it, does that deter you from casting a Chris Hemsworth? Or do you feel like us and feel like, no, if I have an opportunity to put Chris Hemsworth in my movie, I'm putting him in my movie? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 4. And the fourth main topic today comes to us from Michael, who writes, John, have you heard the reactions of Far From Home? That's Spider-Man Far From Home. Reading these reactions are making me even more excited for the film. So my question, what do you think of these reactions? And are these going to help push the film to even more than to hit 1 billion? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Michael. And yup, Spider-Man Far From Home, the social review. Sony has taken a page out of Marvel's playbook here, lifting the social media review embargo really early. And they've lifted the social media review embargo. Full review embargo hasn't lifted yet. And the response has been nothing short of insane, including, now remember, there are a couple of Spider-Man movies that I think you can make legitimate arguments are amongst the best comic book movies ever made. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I personally heard from a couple of people that saw it that said this is the best Spider-Man movie ever. And I'm like, wait a minute, time out. Better than Spider-Man 2. And they're like, I think it's better than Spider-Man 2. Better than Spider-Man or Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's hard to compare. My buddy told me it's hard to compare animated to live action, but if I had to watch one again right now, I'm watching Spider-Man Far From Home right now. And I had a couple of people telling me that. Now, on top of all that, some other critics have jumped online, started sharing their thoughts as well. We're going to start off with, where did he go? He's right over, here we are. All right, so I'm going to first start off with Sean O'Connell, right? Okay, friends, Spider-Man Far From Home is jaw-dropping. First half is a lot of fun, coasting with the good vibes of Homecoming, but the second half is extraordinary, delivering the best Spidey action ever and most shocking ending to a Spider-Man movie ever. I don't want to know any more about that, to be personally honest with you. Brandon Davis wrote, Spider-Man Far From Home is an absolute home run. It is so much fun. It's huge in and of itself. It gives the future of the MCU in a surprising way. Tom Holland, Jake Gyllenhaal, just a lethal and awesome combination. And these things, this is where it was across the board. This is across the board. I read one reaction that said, I give it a B+. Maybe a B. I read one reaction that said, I give it a B. That's the most negative thing I saw regarding Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, you guys know I don't go to many press screenings anymore. I pass it up. I'm just going to wait to go this thing opening night. I want to go and watch this with everybody. So I'm going to go see this opening night. I thought this looked good. I love what they did with Spider-Man Homecoming. I really enjoyed that film. I've been saying that I believe Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be a $1 billion film. It's going to join the $1 billion club, exceeding that of Spider-Man Homecoming. But I was not expecting to hear from people personally and reading from these reactions online of some people. Now, let's be clear, not everybody is saying this is the best Spider-Man movie ever. But I didn't think I would hear from anybody saying this could be the best Spider-Man movie ever. Maybe part of that is the initial rush of having seen it. Who knows? But I'll tell you what, Rob, I was excited for this movie. Not jumping up and down for it, but excited. I think the trailers have been good. Not losing my mind good, but really good. I thought this would make over $1 billion. Dude, my enthusiasm level for this movie has just gone through the roof. I want to see this movie tomorrow now. I'm thinking about maybe taking up one of those press screenings now, just because I'm so excited to see this thing. Rob, you're hearing these reactions right now. Does anything about them surprise you at this point?
No, I mean, this always looked good to me. Hearing that, also a lot of people have been praising Jake Gyllenhaal's performance as Mysterio.
Oh yeah, ad nauseum, absolutely.
And I love the fact that somebody was tweeting about how it really deals with the MCU universe, the world.
We don't want to say too much, yeah.
Post-snap, they like we've talked about dealing with, like, where's the world? People are like, well, in Infinity War or in Endgame, Spider-Man's 5 years later. Like, how are his friends alive? I like the fact that they're going to deal with all of these things, apparently. But I think this is going to be a special movie. I'm really excited for it. Now, I was a detractor. I did not love Homecoming.
Really?
I didn't love Homecoming, and I had a number of reasons for that. But I didn't. I liked it. It was good, but I didn't love it. And I think, I don't even know. I can't even say that. But this looks more up my alley, I guess. And I'm really looking forward to this movie. I've been looking forward to it since we first saw things drop. Everything about this movie looks delightful, and hearing the resoundingly, I didn't read that B+ review or whatever. I've only read great stuff. I've only heard great things from people, and people said, by the way, go in cold, because apparently there's some really interesting plot twists in the film that you shouldn't.
Yeah, which I'm also
don't
hearing.
Have spoiled for you.
Yeah, I'm hearing some major
I don't know what
things.
Those are.
Yeah, neither do I. But I'm hearing major things happen in this movie that are perception changing, is what one person said to me. I'm like, all right. And I'm with you. Look, I loved Homecoming, but there were a couple of things about this movie that I was wondering about. It's like, really? Your first one after Endgame is going to be a Spider-Man movie? And I love Homecoming. And really? You're going to make Mysterio? Like, I know Kevin Smith lost his mind when they were going to make Mysterio because he's one of his favorite guys. But me, I was like, really? Mysterio? Really? But then we saw the trailer with him in it. It's like, okay, this looks pretty good. And Jake Gyllenhaal, the most recent trailers, of course, with showing Jake and Tom Holland together. And I'm telling you what, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited. And we're only less than 2 weeks away now. We are less than 2 weeks away from Spider-Man Far From Homecoming. Guys, let me put the question to you. Now that you're hearing all these reactions and responses from people who have seen the movie, what's it doing to your excitement level? Are you like, hey, you know what? It's their first, they just came out of the movie. I'm not going to get too wound up over their initial excitement because sometimes that dissipates. Or you're like, oh my God, now I really can't wait to see this movie. Where's your anticipation level right now for Spider-Man Far From Home? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to the fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today comes to us from Heather Long, who writes, you were discussing the lack of reviews for Anna yesterday. Anna is an action film that looks like a female John Wick film that I was really into with the trailers, but there's been no press for it. Anyway, you were discussing the lack of reviews for Anna yesterday, and like you, I've been looking forward to seeing it. I found an article in the LA Times for yesterday that indicates why there has been minimal promotion for Anna and apparently few, if any, press screenings. I don't think there have been any, as a matter of fact. I feel for the actors and actress in this project, particularly in light of the allegations. I don't know enough about the Besson, that's Luc Besson, the director, situation to comment, but this is just a case of the studio playing duck and cover, or is this just a case of the studio playing duck and cover? And can a project still overcome the lack of press and support? All right, thanks a lot for that question, Heather, and it's a great topic to bring up. So this, I've seen a couple of times, very smallly marketed. They have not put a lot of marketing push behind this movie, Anna, but when I have seen the trailers, I've loved it. It's totally a female John Wick. I get it. Yes, it is. But it still looks awesome. You put Cillian Murphy in there, you put Luke Evans in there, and I'm like, okay, I'm all on board. This looks great to me. And it's got this young woman in the lead who was in Luc Besson's Valerian City of a Thousand Planets. She had a small role in that. She's a Russian model. Her name's Sasha Luce. And apparently I went and found this article that Heather was talking about in the message in the LA Times. And apparently it doesn't sound like there were any press screenings. And I didn't even think about that till it's like, oh my gosh, I never got any notification about a press screening for this thing at all. I don't even know that any press screenings happened. And the LA Times article talks about there was a screening, but it was only with like 12 people. And it wasn't set up by the studio. It was set up by Sasha Lucis, who plays the lead. Her agent set it up to celebrate her birthday. And like, that's it. Now, again, I don't want to get into drama that happens off camera. That's not what we're here to talk about. But the drama Heather is talking about in her message about Luc Besson is several women have come forward with allegations, including criminal ones. And there was a criminal investigation and blah, 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 blah. And all this kind of stuff is going on. So the question is the fact that they haven't done press screenings, and if they have, they were very few. If they have done press screenings, they were very few. So let's go with the assumption that, just for a second, for argument's sake, that they haven't. The lack of press screenings, the lack of junketing, the lack of real promotion. I like the way Heather put it in the message. Is this a duck and cover? Is it just like, has the studio just gone, you know what? If we do any press for this, every question we're going to get is going to be about Besson and the allegations. So it might even be better just to do none. That none might be better than bad in this situation. There's an old saying that says, all publicity is good publicity. Well, we know that that's not necessarily true. And maybe this is a situation like that. I'll tell you what, Rob, as strange as it sounds, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the day before release and they haven't lifted a review embargo. I'm not going to go see Anna. Hearing this actually kind of renews my interest in seeing the movie a little bit, because it's not necessarily because they don't believe in the film. So I don't know. All I know is that I like the cast in this, particularly the supporting guys with Murphy and Evans, I should say. I thought the trailers looked fantastic. It looks like a lot of kick-ass action. I'm curious to see this. But anyway, you're hearing about all this. What do you think the motivation is here at this point for such a lack of marketing support and PR for this film?
Luc Besson, I'll flat out say it. One of my favorite filmmakers. I mean, all the way back to the 80s with his debut science fiction film, Le Dernier Combat, Subway. He directed La Femme Nikita. He directed The Professional, or as we know it, Leon, the extended version. He directed The Fifth Element. He also directed Lucy, which was a huge worldwide hit. The fact that he's come back and made this what looks to be a kick-ass action film where he's working in the same milieu that he was working in with La Femme Nikita and The Professional excites me. However, the allegations that I've actually met Luc Besson on a couple of occasions, and the man's kind of a horn dog. and that was very apparent when I met him the first time on when he was working on Fifth Element. He was editing it, and we went up to his house in Malibu. And where he was editing the movie, not his house. And I don't know anything about the controversy other than the fact what I've read in the papers. I can't make a decision about it. But to see a filmmaker of Luc Besson's caliber, a film like this dumped by the studio, they have a obligation to release it. Somebody who knows how to craft an action scene the way he does, to me, it's a real shame. I mean, I think it's very, very sad.
Yeah.
And look, that's not say it's sad all the way around. If he was horrible to women, that's sad. But the fact that all the time and effort and money, it's not just Luc Besson working on a movie here. It's everybody who worked on the film, his crew, his actors, everyone. And everybody suffers when a movie gets buried like this. I mean, it looks to have a pretty great breakout central performance in, what's her name? Sasha
Luce. And she's the one I feel worse for in all this. So here she is. She's leading a movie, a big Hollywood film. It's their first one. And like you said, it's getting buried.
And coming from a director, Léon Perrault, who was in La Femme Nikita, and of course, all the actors that were in. I mean, I love. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? You know, the guy who played Leon in The Professional.
The Professional.
Why am I drawing a blank on his name? I have an action figure of him.
Such a great accent too. That
Jean
dude.
Reno.
Jean Reno.
I love Jean Reno. I love Jean Reno and everything. He was in Le Dernier Combat, and to see that happen to this movie, you know. One person should not decide the fate of the work that many people do. And it's sad. And especially Sasha Luce. I mean, for the trailers, she looks great.
She does look great. Yeah.
I'm going to see this movie this weekend. I'm going.
Yeah, I am too now. And who knows? Hopefully the movie's good. I don't know. Maybe the movie will suck and we'll go, well, it doesn't really matter either way. But I do really feel bad for this young lady getting a big break like this. I love the way she came across in the trailers. Let's see if she comes across in the movie well. And maybe if it is good, maybe some word of mouth might give it a little bit of bump. But anyway, guys, what do you think about this? What have you thought about the trailers for Anna? I think this thing has looked great. Do you have any plans on going to check it out? Or do you think it just looks like a John Wick ripoff, whatever? What are your thoughts? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what you guys think. All right. Now, before we jump into the movie news feed here today. Let's go back over and check on that question of the day that we asked just a few minutes ago about, do you think this Spider-Man movie is actually going to happen, where Spider-Man and Venom crossover that Kevin Feige's been talking about? About another 500 of you voted in the last few minutes, and you guys are still saying, yep, and it's still sitting at the exact same, I think it's the exact same thing. 64% of you are saying, yes, this Spider-Man Venom crossover will happen. 36% of you right now are thinking, no, it will not. I'm going to keep that poll open for another couple of hours, guys. You guys can go and cast a vote on that. All right, we're going to go into our live part of the show now, but before we do, there are a number of other items in the world of movie news and entertainment that we frankly don't have time to make main topics. However, if you're watching the John Campea Show, I want to make sure you guys are caught up to date with everything going on. So right now, fact checker Jonathan proudly presents to you today's installment of the movie news feed. Check it out.
First up, the news of another Paranormal Activity movie emerged from Cine Europe, where Paramount Pictures chairman and CEO Jim Giannopoulos announced the studio would partner with Jason Blum of Get Out, Us, and Halloween to bring a new installment of Paranormal Activity to theaters. From Slash Film, not much else is known about the project. However, we can safely assume that the new film will follow in the footsteps of its predecessors and tell a story through security cameras, laptop cameras, and phone cameras, giving us an up-close and personal look at things going bump in the night for a doomed family who picked the wrong house to call home. Next up, it has been revealed that Gotham and Barry actor Anthony Carrigan has been cast in the role of the villain for the upcoming film Bill and Ted Face the Music. From CinemaBlend, the only details about Anthony Carrigan's Face the Music character was that he'll be the eponymous protagonist's relentless adversary. Carrigan has had plenty of experience playing a villain. In Gotham, he played Victor Zsasz, an assassin who served numerous crime lords and cut a tally onto his body for every person he killed. And on HBO's Barry, he plays NoHo Hank, who's part of the Chechen Mafia. Next up, after being wrapped up in an intense bidding war, the rights to Lin-Manuel Miranda's upcoming directorial debut, Tick, Tick, Boom, has been picked up by Netflix, and talks are underway for Andrew Garfield of The Amazing Spider-Man to star. From ComingSoon.net, the film, adapted from Jonathan Larson's play of the same name, tells the story of aspiring theater composer John in 1990 New York as he waits tables while writing his own musical he hopes will give him his big break. As John approaches his 30th birthday, he is overcome with anxiety as he is pressured to move on with his life. Miranda, who starred in an off-Broadway production of the play, is known for creating the acclaimed Broadway productions In the Heights and the Tony Award-winning Hamilton, which has set numerous records since its debut in 2015. Next up, Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music star Julie Andrews is the first actor officially cast in Shondaland's Untitled Bridgerton project. From Deadline, the show is an hour-long period series for Netflix based on Julia Quinn's best-selling series of novels. Andrews will voice the pivotal character of Lady Whistledown in the 8-episode series, slated to premiere in 2020. The Untitled Bridgerton drama is set in the sexy, lavish, and competitive world of Regency London high society. Set between 1813 and 1827, the Bridgerton series is a collection of 8 novels, each featuring one of the 8 children of the late Viscount Bridgerton. And finally, another round of layoffs are going down for employees merged in Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox. From Variety, the Wednesday reduction is the smallest round the studio has enacted since formally acquiring the film and TV assets of 20th Century in March, with a few dozen employees being dismissed across several divisions in both film groups. The human cost of the merger has been a prominent talking point in the $71.3 billion transaction, which solidified Disney as a content and distribution monolith. Previous layoffs came in May, also in the film group, and in March after the sale closed. And that will do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed.
And that gets you all caught up to date on everything going on. And special thanks to fact checker Jonathan for putting that together for us today. He does a great job on those.
I love him.
I love him too. All right, guys, with that down, it's now time for us to hear from you guys and talk about the things that you guys want to talk about in our live segment. So let's jump over and get started on that right now. And we're going to get started first off with Darth Impact, who writes, I loved Endgame, but watching Infinity War for the millionth time, I might have liked Infinity War a little bit more. I'll tell you what. I'm completely with you. I think Infinity War is a better movie. Now, there are things about Endgame that I think are head and shoulders above things in Infinity War. Me personally, and I loved Endgame too, but I just personally found Infinity War a little bit overall the better package. Rob, I know you absolutely loved Endgame. I'm going to guess that you like Endgame more than Infinity War.
Well, you know, they're different movies.
They are.
I've always seen them. Infinity War is just like its name. It's a kick-ass action, adventure, sci-fi thriller, Whereas Endgame is much more introspective. It's a different kind of a movie. And what I love about them both is they're two sides of a coin. They're one can't exist really without the other, because Endgame is the end of Infinity War, and Infinity War is the setup for Endgame. And I think it's a marvelously satisfying entertainment experience to watch both of those movies. So I think that they belong together. Like, a Reese's peanut butter cup, chocolate and peanut butter.
What's interesting about the two is they are, while all that is true, they are yet still two very different and very solid on their own standalone movies.
That's what I love.
Yeah.
And they're very different kinds of films, and they have different joys to them. Look at the way they begin and how those movies start. One of the movies, they start both kind of dark. Loki gets killed. Half of the Asgardians are dead, and then in Endgame, it's Clint Barton's family.
Yeah,
and it deals with love and loss, and then it moves in, and then the one path goes into this kick-ass conflict in New York, and then the other's like, woe is us. It's been 5 years. They kill Thanos, and now we're depressed. Totally different feelings of these movies. And
very different films.
Different films, and I love them.
All right, let's move on here. Next one up is Austin Church, who says, I can't understand why Max Landis was so popular, because the kid's got talent. He does. I don't love everything that he's done, but he's done some really, really good stuff. Everything else aside, if you're just talking about the kid and his talent, he's talented. I love Chronicle. What was that one he even did? American Ultra. I didn't love the film overall, but I thought the story was really interesting and really good.
I liked his DC Comics runs. Alien, the Superman.
The Superman stuff was actually pretty good. If you're going to ask that, that's probably why he was kind of popular. And he came across a little bit of a renegade in the town too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's how I saw it.
He was more about himself.
Yeah. I didn't know him well enough to know that for sure. Blake Hilst writes, what's your favorite soda? Orange Crush, although I haven't had it in years. But Orange Crush is my favorite soda. What about you, Rob?
I used to love Orange Crush, but you know what? I think A&W root beer.
Oh, it's a good one. A&W's a good one.
It's got that frosty mug taste.
Right now, my soda of choice is Zevia soda because it has no artificial sweeteners or anything like that. So that's, and then I also drink a lot of Diet Coke. I drink Diet Coke when I go to the movie theaters, but I prefer Diet Pepsi. Anyway, Suthius writes, morning guys, since Feige said the extra end credit stuff for Endgame begins next weekend, could it relate to Far From Home since it opens July 2nd? It's possible, but I think unlikely, because why would you do that just 1 week? Like, if you're going to do lead up stuff, and let's face it, not a ton in the grand scheme of things, not a ton of people are going to be going to see Endgame this weekend. So I think if you've got stuff that sets up Far From Home, you would have put that in there earlier. So I'm going to guess, it's possible, but I'm going to guess no. Rob, which would you guess?
I don't think anything with Spider-Man Far From Home is in there. I think it's something else.
All right. Next up, Darth Impact writes, if they do make an ensemble category at the Oscars and it goes to the casting director, I nominate Sarah Haley Finn for the MCU. For 11 years, she's helped bring some A-list talent. That's not how it works, Darth. Unless it says Lifetime Achievement Award, the Oscars aren't given out for lifetime work. It's what movie that year did this, that, or the other thing. So that's not quite how it works. Also, I don't know that I give a lot of credit for somebody who just amasses a bunch of huge stars, as opposed to really just finding the right people for the right roles and all that. That would be one of the big things. Now, I'm often against adding a lot of new categories at the Academy Awards, but Best Ensemble is something that SAG does. And I agree with that, because I do think there's something, it's great to have great individual actors, but there's also something magical that happens when you have a cast that you've put together so perfectly that has that chemistry and works so well off each other. I think that is something they should look at adding to the Academy Awards. Rob, how do you see all that?
I do too. Look, one of my good friends is the woman who cast Boogie Nights, Christine Sheeks.
Ooh, really?
And that was a pretty amazing, if you look back at where those people were and where they've gone and who she got in that movie, that was a work of art. And I think a great casting director, really, someone like Francine Maisler, if you don't know who she is, she's worked on millions of movies. She's an incredible talent. And all the way back to Marion Doherty, who worked at Warner Brothers and discovered James Dean. Casting directors are vital to the success of especially ensemble movies.
All right, next one up. Anthony R. writes, fun fact, George Newbern, who voiced Superman in Justice League cartoon, used to voice Fast and Furious 7 villain.
Final
Fantasy. Guys, please, guys, don't use abbreviations. Anyway, Final Fantasy villain Sephiroth. Now Tyler Hoechlin is voicing Sephiroth in the remake. Why do I know Tyler Hoechlin? Who's Tyler
Superman.
Hoechlin?
He's your jobber.
That's right. He's the jobber, and that's
jobber.
right. I know.
He's Superman.
He is the Superman jobber. He is our jobber Superman. But that makes sense that they're doing that. That is a fun fact, Anthony. Thank you. I love when you guys just send in these like really cool little nifty facts. That's great. Thank you so much for that, Anthony. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, finally saw Rocket Man yesterday. It was awesome. Yeah, I quite enjoyed Rocket Man. I really did quite enjoy it. I didn't think it was in the same league as, say, Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't, but it's a really well put together film, and I did enjoy it. Suthius writes, no reviews for Child's Play yet because it's obvious there's a spoiler. After Luke disappears, he decided to take up a new venture in Killer Dolls. For those of you who don't know what Suthius is talking about, Chucky in this movie is being voiced by the great Mark Hamill. So yeah, there you go. Obviously, they're holding the spoiler. They're holding the reviews for spoilers. The movie comes out today. They still haven't lifted the review embargo. Movie comes out today. Unbelievable. Zach Bartran writes, wanted to let people know, since we're film fans, my friend is throwing a Halloween party on Halloween at the house used as Stu Matchers from Scream in Santa Rosa. The event is called Screamoween. That's a great idea.
Are we invited?
Yeah, that's the thing. Are we invited to go
come?
to that? I mean, that I love the notion, actually, of having events at a place that is actually from an iconic movie or something like that. That sounds like it could actually be kind of fun. So that's a really cool thing to do and to try. All right. Sam Fisher writes, I would love to see Donnie Yen as the real Mandarin, teased in the All Hail the King short from 2013 with Ben Kingsley as his character in prison. All right, so guys, for those of you who don't know what Sam is talking about, obviously Sir Ben Kingsley, who plays the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. It turns out at the end of the film, he's not really the Mandarin. Marvel then a little bit later put out this short film, because they were doing for a while these little Marvel shorts, which I wish they kept doing.
They were good, too.
They were great. Anyway, of Ben Kingsley's character now in prison, and he gets busted out of prison by henchmen who claim they work for the true Mandarin, who's not happy with Ben Kingsley that he was going by and imitating him as his moniker, suggesting that the actual Mandarin is somewhere in the MCU. And that got all of our mouths watering. Now, clearly they haven't gone anywhere with that. So I don't care what actor, like Donnie Yen, sure, but put Donnie Yen in anything. I don't care. I would love for them to actually bring in a true Mandarin. It will be difficult because of what they did with Iron Man 3. But Rob, do you think they could ever actually do? Do you think they'd ever actually do that?
I think they're absolutely. I mean, Shang-Chi has an interesting history in that his father was Fu Manchu.
That's
they had
right.
licensed Fu Manchu, just like when Marvel licensed Conan in the 70s. So they've got to come up with a whole new. Shang-Chi's father's a big part of the Shang-Chi mythos. And I think absolutely if Donnie Yen's going to play his dad, bring that on. And they've talked about they need a big bad in the MCU. They need a criminal organization, something that's
just not Hydra again, please.
Yeah,
just
that's
let
why
Hydra
I really
die.
think that the Mandarin and the 10 Rings and all that, make it real, bring it on, make Donnie Yen the head of that. I would love to see that kind of a thing. I mean, I think they are gonna do that because they do that a lot in the MCU, and they're gonna reinvent something that's different from the comics, but they're going to make it uniquely theirs. Bring it on, Doge. Bring it on.
All right, next up, Stubble McShave writes, tomorrow is Midsommar. Neighbors acting weird. And by the way, the early reactions for Midsommar come out. Not all of them glowing. Not all of them glowing. I thought it looked really spectacular. But then again, you looked at a film, it was The Witch, right? That had, not everybody loved The Witch. I thought it was fantastic.
I did too. I love The Witch. It's one of my favorite horror films of the last 5 years. Midsommar. I mean, A24. I don't know what they're drinking over at A24.
They're doing some good stuff.
They put out some great stuff. I can't wait for Midsommar. And Ari Aster got that out quick.
Yeah,
Hereditary came out, and then they started Midsommar. Good on A24.
All right, next up, Austin Church writes, my grandfather was diagnosed with brain tumor. Dude, I'm so sorry to hear that. And he loves the show. Aw, thank you so much, man. You've helped him stay positive during this really difficult time, so thank you.
Look, here's the thing. It can be fought. Your grandfather is gonna go. He's gonna beat this. And it's good to hear. We don't know your grandfather's name though, so we can't give him a shout out. I'll give him a shout out though. Grandpa. Do you say? How did you call your grandpa? Grandfather, grandpa. I said grandpa. But let's we're pulling for you here on the John Campea Show. And Bob, why don't you send us in like your top 10 desert island movies? No, seriously, I'd love to know. Like as a grandfather, I mean, I could have been a grandfather if I had kids. But what are your favorite movies now? I mean, it'd be interesting to see what that multi-generational response is. So.
All right. Thanks for sending that in, Austin. And, of course, all best thoughts and wishes to your grandfather. And thank you for sharing that, dude. Okay, let's move on here. Jonathan Teft writes, I have A-list, so I will definitely be going back to see Endgame after credits scene. Yeah, not me. I don't get me, I love Endgame, but I've seen it 4 times in theaters. I sat through it enough, and whatever they put in there is going to be coming out. Because remember, the 3-month moratorium on the time limit between when you open your movie and when it can then become available for home video, that's up in like just less than a month.
Yeah, so and I want to know, John, are they going to put that stuff on the home video release?
I think they will.
Is it going to be on the home video release? Because they have a lead time. They have a lead time.
Or they'll put it on YouTube just to promote the home video release. One of the two. But I think we're going to see it here pretty soon. But hey, there's going to be a bunch of people that do. There are going to be a bunch of people that do. And thank God for A-list. All right. Donaldo Martinez writes, with 8K TVs in stores, do you think when 8K movies come out, they'll all be digital or disc? I don't think 8K is going to become a standard for a very, if ever. The funny thing is the eye can't even perceive an 8K. I mean, you would have, for it to really make a difference, you would have to sit so close to your TV. And that's the other thing about 4K. Like, Rob, I remember we talked about these studies about how the difference between an HD TV and a 4K, if you sit a certain distance away from your TV, your eye can't even see a difference.
I mean, you can see a difference if you're having an HDR or a Dolby Vision image.
Yes, and there's really color issues there and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
it's really cool. But I mean, can you imagine I can't even imagine trying to edit a movie in 8K. If you had 8K files, I mean, until computing technology, you're certainly not going to have an effects house render 8K images. I mean, you'd still be waiting for the original Star Wars now if they were doing it in 8K.
Although, like, they're saying this new Mac Pro can actually do, like, 5 4K streams. It's crazy.
Insane.
It's crazy power at this point. Okay, let's move on here. Chris Feldman writes, since Fantastic Four has already had 2 origin movies, would the MCU be smart to avoid going that route again? You know what? My first thought on that, Chris, is yes, because I liked when they rebooted Hulk with Edward Norton.
Oh, Edward.
When they rebooted Hulk with Edward Norton, they kind of recapped origin story in the opening credits with just newspaper clippings and some sound bites and just 30 seconds, boom, done. We move on. Spider-Man Homecoming. They already told the Spider-Man origin twice in just a couple of years. So what do they do with Homecoming? He's already Spider-Man, and we moved on. So I like that approach. The one difference, though, is that you're bringing these characters now who have never been mentioned, never brought up, into an MCU universe where we would have heard of them by now, you would think. So I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it, Chris. I'm totally cool if they decide to do the origin again. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of upside to just bypassing the origin. Just say, you know what? Yeah, they never talked about them, but they've been here. So I don't know, Rob, how would you handle that?
You know, origin stories really get in the way. You're eating up screen time, in my mind. You know, You've got 15, 20 minutes sometimes dealing with origin stories. We all know those stories. I mean, we've all grown up with whether they're animated shows, whether they're the movies that we've seen. James Bond doesn't have to go tell an origin story every single time. You're in the middle of an adventure, and if you drop a character into that, we'll figure it out. We can infer what's happening. We didn't get Wolverine's in the first X-Men movie. We didn't get Wolverine's origin. We met him as a pit fighter, in Canada, and making some money in Canada fighting people. And that was all we needed. We got glimpses of his past, but we didn't have a definitive origin until X-Men Origins Wolverine.
You can reveal history through the telling of the movie without having to dedicate 20 minutes of screen time to redo the thing again. So, again, it's new. It's the MCU. It's a different I could see the arguments for both sides, but I think, Rob, you make a really compelling case there. Let's see. Sam Fisher writes, did you hear J.J. Abrams is writing a Spider-Man comic? I did not hear about
with
that.
With his son.
Ooh, that's actually kind of interesting, especially now that he's going to be over at Warner Brothers.
Right.
So that's intriguing. I didn't know about that. Did not know about that. All right, Darth Impact writes, and I want to shout out someone who has been with the MCU since the beginning. ScarJo's stunt double, Heidi Moneymaker, which sounds like a wrestling name, watched a video on her and she's incredible. I got to see that because I've heard somebody else reference this before. Have you seen it, Rob? Because I have not.
I haven't, but you know, the stunt women of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have gone unsung, and I want to say this week at the MTV Music Award or MTV Movie Awards, Brie Larson brought her 2 stunt women up. They won the award for Best Fight Scene, and she brought the stunt one up. One of them played Minerva, and one of them played her. And she brought them up with her to accept the award. And, you know, for anybody who says things about Brie Larson, that was one classy move she made there. And to acknowledge that she had these 2 stunt women who really were the backbone of this fight scene was a great thing to do. And I think stunt people do not get the recognition they deserve.
Well, look at that. Something that isn't completely worthless coming out of the MTV Movie Awards. All right, let's move on here. Next is Best D14 writes, with Spider-Verse's success, Kevin Feige openly discussing crossover with Venom and Tom Holland openly expressing interest. Of course he does. He's the actor. He has no say in it, though. Over under 5%, we see a live-action Spider-Verse with Tobey, Andrew, and Tom in 10 years. Zero. No. This whole... First of all, guys, look, I get it. I get it. There's this fantasy league kind of notion. Imagine if we see Tobey, because it's a multiverse now, we're going to see Tobey Spider-Man, we're going to see Andrew Spider-Man, we're going to see Tom Spider-Man all together swinging through just like the animated movie. That would make for a terrible movie. That would make a terrible movie. You know what that would make? A great 7-minute YouTube video as a lark. It would make a really fun, funny, cool notion of an idea for, I don't know, Jimmy Fallon to get those guys together and do this fantasy 7-minute sketch of them. That would be fun and cool. As a movie, no. I don't think that makes any sense at all, and it's not something that's going to happen. So I will take the under. I'm not going to say 0. You should never say 0, and even though I was saying 0. But I would go 0.5% chance.
Yeah.
So I'll take well under 5, Rob.
I'm with you. It ain't going to happen.
It ain't going to happen. But, I mean, this Tom Holland and Hardy thing with Venom, I mean, it sounds like that could very well happen. How they'll do it, though, that's the question to me. Like, who gives? Like, it's. I just don't know how they do it, but I'm intrigued by this. I'm totally intrigued by it. All right, KW Garrett 83 writes, you ever play poker with Tobey Maguire? Is he good? I have played with a number of Hollywood. I've actually had the opportunity. I'm very lucky to have played with poker with a number of people. I will say this: I have never had the chance to play with Tobey Maguire. I have played with many people who have. And everything I've ever heard about him is that he's a killer. He's an absolute killer. Because look, when you really break down, there are different philosophies you can have with poker. And I'm not going to go too long into poker, I promise. But one of the big things about poker is you got to know the math. You got to know odds and percentages and stuff like that. And you've got to know, and apparently he is just a math computer. And so I've heard from a number of people that say Tobey Maguire is an absolute slayer when it comes to playing poker. So, but I've never had the opportunity to play with him myself. I think that would be a really cool experience, though, if I ever had the chance. Chris Feldman writes, I recall in 1998, some people buying tickets to movies just to see the Phantom Menace trailer. It's true. And then leaving. Of course, trailers weren't online then. Yeah, it was a totally different era. That was an era where I still remember being at a buddy's place, and we spent 4.5 hours downloading a little trailer of Star Wars The Phantom Menace. 4.5 hours. It was like, set the download, go have lunch, do a little bit of shopping, hang out for a bit, come home, still wait another 45 minutes, and then we could watch. I mean, so it was a totally different thing. So yes, in that era, that would happen. It doesn't happen anymore.
I went to the theater. I went and saw The Siege. The Denzel Washington movie, The Siege, that had Tony Shalhoub and had Warren Beatty's wife. You know, what's her name? Why was
she was just in?
She was just in Captain Marvel.
She was the high intelligence, whatever her name. Annette Bening.
Annette Bening, and who I love, Annette Bening. I love her in Bugsy. But I went and saw The Siege for like the 3rd time, just to see the Phantom Menace trailer.
What was the Robert Redford movie with lions in the title? Robert Redford...
Out of Africa?
No, lions is in the title. It's Robert...
the political thriller.
I don't even... No, and it also had...
Tom Cruise and
No, why am I forgetting his name? The guy in Robin Hood with Kevin Costner.
Morgan Freeman?
Morgan Freeman, I'm freezing on the names right now. Morgan Freeman, Robert Redford.
Yeah, I thought...
something lions. Hold a second. No, I can't... I'm sorry, guys. I can't continue. I cannot continue the show.
I thought it was a political thriller with Tom Cruise and...
I know there's that one, too.
We're not doing good. I'm forgetting Annette Bening and Morgan Freeman.
Here, this is totally unprofessional. I can't do this. I cannot... Lions for Lambs.
Right.
Is that the name of it? Robert
Yes.
Redford, Jane Fonda, Red Carpet. Is that the right one? Morgan Freeman, Robert Redford, make a hero. I can't remember. But there was some movie like that was playing about the same time, and I remember walking into the theater just so I could see the trailer for that. And I'm totally blowing this thing completely because now I'm probably misremembering this entire thing altogether. All right, let's move on here. Let's see. Taki75 writes, Best Actor never nominated for an Oscar: Donald Sutherland, John Goodman, Raul Julia, or Alan Rickman. Was Alan Rickman not nominated for Truly Madly Deeply? Hold a second. Alan Rickman. Let me see here.
It wasn't Raul Julia nominated for something. I guess maybe if you're saying that, he probably wasn't, but I thought he was.
Now, I could have sworn that Rickman was nominated for Truly Madly Deeply. But you know what? It doesn't look like he was. He got nominated for a Golden Globe for Rasputin. He got nominated for a couple of Emmys. He got nominated for a number of BAFTAs, including, okay, that's it. He was nominated for the BAFTA for Best Actor for Truly Madly Deeply in 1990, which, by the way, if you've never seen that movie, it's so freaking good.
Alan Rickman should have won for Hans Gruber. Everybody knows it. Leader of the West German Volksfrei movement, who also played Bill Clay in the same movie. Come on, what's up?
I would have loved if somehow, some way, they would have been able to make a Gruber Brothers movie. With,
with
Jeremy
Simon
Irons,
Gruber as well.
Yes. Oh my God, because Jeremy Irons as Simon Gruber was so good. Lord, he was so good in that. So
I love Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh, I do too. I think it's my favorite one. That's the one with Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, it's my favorite one. Good Lord. Anyway.
I just wish they put that original ending when he meets Simon Gruber in the cafe in Europe.
I didn't know about that.
It's on the Blu-ray.
Oh,
it's on the DVD too.
I gotta see that at some point. Willow Yang writes, what was your reaction to the incinerator scene in Toy Story 3? I knew they weren't gonna die, but it was still powerful. Hope you enjoyed Toy Story 4. I'll tell you what, Willow, I didn't know they weren't gonna die. At first I thought they're not, but then as the scene kept progressing, I'm like, they are gonna die. Oh my God. And then they hold hands. Is like no dry eyes in the theater. Man, when they all just reach out, that moment of acceptance, this is our fate. And all Woody just does, let's just hold hands. And we're going out together. Oh my God. It's that crap right there that just puts Pixar on another level. Just completely on another level. What were you feeling when the first time you saw that?
I felt the same thing. I was like, when I was watching this film, are they going to kill these characters? I mean, the way they had done it, it could have been poignant, but I was like, death by incineration seemed a little harsh for a Toy Story movie. But
they could have done the Terminator thing as Woody finally goes in the last thing. Just his hand is reaching out as it goes under into the incinerator.
See, Willow always goes for these very intellectual questions. Oh. But I think that they played the emotions there. They got me.
Oh, yeah.
They got me.
They got me, too. Totally did. All right. Let's see. Akash Telly writes, guys, watching Fleabag on Amazon Prime. Guys, watch Fleabag on Amazon Prime. Really funny show. It only has 2 seasons with 6 half-hour episodes each. Really. It's created by the same person who created Killing Eve, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Listen, I keep hearing everybody. Robert, tell me to watch Fleabag.
Watch Fleabag, dude.
You have?
Yeah, it's. I've just started it because Elizabeth was talking about it. It's great. And it's Phoebe Waller-Bridge is also writing Bond 25 now.
That's right. That's right. I heard about that. But and every time every night when I go to bed, I always pop open Amazon.com just to see, is there anything neat they'd recommend for me to buy or whatever. And like lately, they've been really highlighting Fleabag on the front page of the site. I'm having so many people, Akash, telling me to watch this. So I got to get on that. And hearing that's only 6 half-hour episodes each, that's intriguing to know. So I'll get on it. I will get on it. I got to get through Punisher Season 2 first, though. I got to get through that first. All right, next. Vince Carter of Mars writes, do you guys think Thanos should have been able to pick up Cap and slam him while Cap was holding Mjolnir in Endgame? Obviously, Thanos isn't worthy. Different thing. He wasn't... Picking up Cap is not the same thing as wielding Mjolnir.
Right.
Two totally different things. So it's kind of like... I think they could have lifted... if you remember in the movie... Ultron, there's that scene where Mjolnir is sitting during the party, is sitting on the table. I think two guys at either end of the table could have picked up the table. But you can't wield Mjolnir. You can't pick up Mjolnir. So, yes, I had no problem with him picking up Cap. I would have had a problem if he tried to pick up Mjolnir. So I think that would have been a different thing. Because didn't he catch Stormbreaker, though, at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't catch Mjolnir.
Stormbreaker isn't enchanted by Odin.
Yeah, he didn't put the... That's why people keep saying, you can't be worthy. No, that didn't have the enchantment. That be they worthy, they shall possess the power of Thor. That wasn't on there. It was only on Mjolnir. Okay, next one up. Taki75 writes, Endgame's new scene will probably be the one in Soul World where Tony sees his adult daughter after a snap. Remember, there are... Just to be clear here, because, Rob, I still saw this everywhere yesterday all over social media. A new cut of Avengers Endgame is coming. Guys, make sure, spread the word about this. Kevin Feige has explicitly said it is not a new cut of the movie. There are no new scenes being added in the movie. It is the exact 100% same movie that you've already seen. What is different, he says, is that we're putting a deleted scene after the post-credits, a tribute, which I still think is probably going to be
Stan Lee.
Why did I freeze Stan Lee for a second? Which I still think is going to be a Stan Lee thing. And a couple of fun surprises, they said. So I'm guessing a message from the cast.
It's Michael
or
Pena telling the story that they filmed. I hope it is.
I just want to see that.
I do too.
Whether it's at the end credit or not. They just got to release that. But there is no extra scene. And they did shoot that scene of Tony being in the Soul World and seeing a vision of his daughter in the future. But I don't know, that it doesn't seem like that's a deleted scene to put in. I don't think that might be a deleted scene you get on the Blu-ray later, but I don't feel that's one they're going to put in there. I like your theory, Rob, about it maybe being a Gamora thing.
Yeah.
About her making the decision and telling Nebula she needs to split. She goes, I can't deal with, this is all so different. I'm 2 years out of my time now, or 3 years, however long it was. I'm out of my time. I need to split and figure things out. I think that makes sense.
Yep.
That makes sense. So we'll see how they go with that. All right, next up, Tyler Van writes, thoughts on The Pianist? I love The Pianist. Despite the fact that it was, directed by a pedophile. Adrian Brody the movie won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Adrian Brody. It was nominated for Best Picture as well. I think it's a really good movie. Brandon Barrett writes, which MCU movie has the best fight choreography? Not necessarily the best action overall, but straight fight choreography, which I think Shang-Chi will probably take that. I'm willing to put money that Shang-Chi will take that title. I'm going to say Winter Soldier. I thought right from the opening fight on the boat between George St. Pierre and Captain America, for Batroc and Captain America, to the fights on the highway bridge and all that kind of stuff on the rooftops, I think that's got the best fight choreography.
100%.
What about you?
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I mean, look, Civil War, action sequence, the airport, that's a different thing. But if you're going to ask best fight choreography, I'm going to stick with that as well. Nathan Oswald writes, my favorite Keanu Reeves movie is Speed. I think mine's probably still got to be, you know what? Mine is now John Wick Chapter 3. John Wick Chapter 3 is now my favorite Keanu Reeves movie. I like Speed. I like Speed very much. But wait a minute. Do I like John Wick 3 more than The Matrix? Ooh, I don't know. Which would you say is your favorite?
I was going to say The Matrix, but I also love River's Edge, which is one of his very first movies.
Oldie. All right, next one up. Nathan Oswald writes, what was the better song written for the movie? Take My Breath Away for Top Gun. That was great. Or Eye of the Tiger for Rocky 3. You know what the funny thing is, even though it wasn't written for the movie, the best music part in Top Gun wasn't even Take My Breath Away. the best music scene in Top Gun was "You've Lost That Love and Feeling." You know, and also when Goose sings, what does it say? He sings "Great Balls of Fire," right?
Yeah, Great Balls of Fire.
Take me to bed or lose me forever, honey. Like I that's the best one in that. I'm gonna go Eye of the Tiger for Rocky 3, but I'm not even positive that was written for the movie.
Yeah, I don't know if it was written for the movie either. I don't know, but and I love Berlin, but you know, I liked Metro and Sex, I'm those are my favorite Berlin songs. I got to go with Eye of the Tiger, man, because Eye of the Tiger's classic.
By Survivor. Brendan Millspaw writes, you don't have to say anything, but a certain someone who was flipping out because he didn't get invited to Galaxy's Edge was hilarious. Keep up the show. You know what? Look, I am going to give him a hard time about that for a long time. I'm going to give him a hard time about that for a long time. I'm having dinner with Christian actually next week. He and I are getting together having dinner. I'm always going to give, like, I still think that was way overblown. I still think it was way overblown. I completely do. But that's not going to stop me from giving him a hard time about it for a very long time. All right, next one. Star Killer writes, what black actor would you like to see as a Jedi? Any talented black actor, and there are a ton of them. You know me. What actor should play X role? I don't care. I don't care if you want to put, you know, obviously you want one of the greats like of any race right now. You want to put you want to say Denzel Washington's going to be in one of these movies and he's going to do that? Hell yeah, go for it. Do it. I don't care. You want to get, I don't care. I don't care.
I want Djimon Hounsou and Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh, Djimon
Hounsou is going to be a grizzled, not older, but wise Jedi.
Kind of like he was in Shazam.
Yeah, kind of like it was in Shazam, but more like Gladiator. I want to see the Gladiator version of Djimon Hounsou as a Jedi, and Chiwetel Ejiofor as a Jedi that's skirting the edge between the light and the dark side.
Yeah.
Just because Chiwetel Ejiofor is one of my favorite actors.
Michael B. Jordan, Falcon. Anthony Mackie, who is awesome in everything you put him in. I mean, John Boyega's already in Star Wars, so I really don't care. I don't care. X actor and X role, as long as it's a good actor, I'm totally happy. Matsiv Jada writes, Louis C.K.'s movie, I Love You, Daddy, was actually pretty good. That was another one that just had a stench attached to it because of Louis C.K.'s controversy and stuff like that, and I never did watch it, but I've heard it's good. But I think a lot of people just kind of had that stench attached to it at that point and I never did see it. Brendan Millspaw writes, you think the MCU will exist in 2040? Not in its current incarnation, no, but will there be movies based on MCU, like Marvel characters? Yes, but the current incarnation of the MCU, no, not at that time. Chris Feldman writes, did Canada import much American TV that you watched when you were younger? Are there favorite Canadian shows you would recommend from your youth? And yeah, look, US and Canada, while we have very different cultures, we share a lot of the same pop culture. And we have ever since I was a child. Like, we share most pop culture. So every big American show also played in Canada, yes. Standalone Canadian show, shows you guys have never heard of. Corner Gas was a great one.
There's a show called Corner Gas.
It's literally...
Is it about a gas station?
It is literally about this family running this little gas station. I believe it was in the middle of Saskatchewan. And it's great. It's absolutely great. It was really funny. Of course, what a lot of people will hear or know about in the United States is Trailer Park Boys. That wasn't even one of my favorites. So there are a bunch of the ones, but yes, we did share a lot of the same pop culture. Corner Gas. All right. Wow. Let's see. JB Bonifacio writes, Far From Home better than Spider-Man 2? I call BS. How? You haven't seen it yet. I can't, look, does it make me raise an eyebrow? Yes. Why? Yeah. This eyebrow raise is way better than this eyebrow. Notice that? I can do a rock way better this way. It makes me raise my eyebrow, but you can't call BS on something that you haven't seen yet. So let's just be clear about that. Aaron Moen writes, random thought. Was I See Fire by Ed Sheeran nominated for an Oscar? It was not. I don't remember it being nominated. If it wasn't, how the hell did that happen? I have no idea. I See Fire by Ed Sheeran for the first Hobbit film it's a moving piece of music. It's moving. It's perfect for the movie. It's an amazing tune. If you have, just hop on YouTube and search I See Fire, Ed Sheeran, and it's Peter Jackson is in the video as well. Like, it's an amazing song. Two songs that just modern songs that just totally make me bash my head against the wall that they never got nominated for Best Song at the Oscars, which, by the way, shouldn't even be a category. But if it is a category, there's that one and Ashes by Celine Dion for Deadpool 2. These are two songs that absolutely maybe should have won the Oscar, and they didn't even get nominated. The only thing I can guess is that there was a technical issue that disqualified, because we hear about that all the time. Lots of music for technical reasons gets disqualified from contention. All I can guess is that there must have been something that disqualified them from being in contention, because those songs are awesome. Do you got any song off the top of your head, Rob, that you think about that should have absolutely been recognized? I really can't think of many other than those two.
A View to a Kill.
It's a view to a kill.
Now, it's tough. To Live and Die in L.A. should have won.
That was a pretty good one.
Best song at the Oscars.
All right, next up. Where are we at here? Michael Effin Sotelo writes, double toy feature tonight with Toy Story and Child's Play. I hope I like Child's Play. Yeah, it opens in a few hours. They still haven't let the reviews come out. They don't want you to see the reviews until you're already bought your tickets. So I'm very, very skeptical. But here's hoping. We always want every movie we see to be great, and that includes Child's Play. But I got a feeling the better film tonight is probably going to be Toy Story 4. I'm just taking a wild guess. All right, Mad1306 writes, Scarlet Spider is my favorite. So just imagine when I found out that the PS4 Spider-Man game version of Scarlet Spider gets a hot toy. Now I'm on the waiting list. Well, of course, we can't talk hot toys unless we defer to Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Is this thing, they got a Scarlet Spider hot toy?
It's awesome. There's a video up that you can see the figure. It is a great figure. They've also made another figure from that just came out that you can actually see reviews of the main suit from the PS4 game. But that hot toy, I pre-ordered it, the Scarlet Spider.
Of course you did.
It looks great. Normally I don't buy video game figures, but
But it's Spider-Man.
Hot Toys has made a few. They made an Assassin's Creed figure. They made Spider-Man figures. They made Batman Arkham Asylum figures.
All right. Next up, Alvin Elmore writes, have you heard about Chadwick Boseman playing the African samurai Yasuki? Yes, I have heard about that. Yasuki is such an interesting figure. I'm happy they're making a movie about him. Yeah, I know. I'm not even going to pretend, Alvin, that I know anything about it, but I did read about that, and instantly I got intrigued. Do you know much about the character, Rob?
I don't know about the character. I mean, I don't know, because it's a real person.
Right.
I don't know, and look, all you have to say is samurai, and I'm in.
Yeah. Samurai and Chadwick Boseman, it's like, yep, I'm down.
Hey, my Throne of Wakanda comes in 7 days. I'm really excited.
Because you got the character. You got Black Panther.
Black
right?
Panther was shipped this week, but the chair came unto itself. It was a special.
Oh, okay.
Hot Toys actually, a dream was achieved. Hot Toys just said, we're making a chair. That's it. They made a chair. They made the Throne of Wakanda, not with a figure. Hot Toys made a chair. Did I get happy about this? Yes, I did.
You love your chairs.
And it comes next week.
You love your chairs. All right, next up, Double X Year Disease writes, hi, John. I learned one of my favorite drummers, Stuart Copeland of The Police, was the composer of Highlander 2. I didn't know that. The Quickening. He also did Wall Street. One's a pretty good movie. One is the worst cinematic abortions in history.
He also did the score for Coppola's Rumblefish.
Really?
Rumblefish, which is awesome. The score that Stuart Copeland did for Rumblefish is great, and then Standard Ridgway's song, Don't Box Me In. He was the lead singer for Wall of Voodoo. But Stuart Copeland is he hasn't done enough movie scores, but he uses his percussion in a very interesting manner. The Rumblefish score is amazing. Whenever
anybody brings up Highlander 2, The Quickening, it makes my heart sad. Because that first one is one of my all-time favorite films.
Have you seen the Renegade cut? There's a new cut of that movie.
Nope. It's like, hey, you may not have liked getting a sledgehammer to your penis, but now there's a silver sledgehammer. Do you want to take that one to the penis? Maybe it'll feel better. I don't know. That movie is such an atrocity. It's crazy. All right. James McLeod writes, love the show. Thank you so much, James. I've collected 619 movies and 29 TV series on Blu-ray and DVD since I was 7. That's huge. Hurts my soul that they are going away. Rob understands. Yeah, look, I don't know that anybody is happy they're going away. Because some people misinterpret, Rob, when I say, look, the fact of the matter is that physical media is dying. People misinterpret that as if I'm happy about it. And I'm not. Look, I haven't collected physical media in a long time, but I got no problems with physical media. Many friends love their collections. It's great. It's awesome. But hey, man, just think of it this way. that collection of yours, it's going to be worth an awful lot of money in a few years. Like 10 years from now, you're going to have a pretty valuable collection years from now. So just think about it that way. Because Rob, I know you, like almost more than anybody I know, you love your physical media.
I love my physical media, but it's just the way of the world. I mean, I lament it. This is my 39th year of buying physical media in my life. And, I buy less of it because I have most of the things that I want. But when Apocalypse Now, the final cut, comes out in August, are you kidding? Dawn of the Dead is finally going to be remastered from the original elements, the original Romero Dawn of the Dead. I mean, I can't, I think about it and I just get all...
You know what?
What's our Ghibli? I get Ghibli.
I might break down and buy a Blu-ray once they finally, at some point, get around to putting out a True Lies Blu-ray. They do that. I might actually get it.
Unbelievable that they haven't put that out, John.
It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
All-time favorite action film. All right. Topher Rocks writes, Trailer Park Boys, a good representation of Canada? No. It's a fun representation of Canadian stereotypes made by Canadians, but no, it is not a representation of Canada. Evan Hill writes, where do we go here? Evan Hill writes, hey, John, I love that we have been talking about Lord of the Rings lately. They are my favorite movies. What is your favorite scene? It's hard to go away from My Friends, You Bow to No One. It is just, it's not an action scene. There's not monsters in it. There aren't sword fights in it. It's just a culmination with this powerful moment. It's a culmination of 3 films with a king kneeling before these little hobbits and saying, my friends, you bow to no one. And then the king, I'm going to freak out here if I don't stop talking about it. But that is still my favorite scene of that trilogy. Rob, do you got a particular favorite scene?
I love the scene in Rivendell in Fellowship. Bring forth the ring.
Oh,
Frodo. I love seeing the Fellowship there. I love seeing Elrond. I love Rivendell, and I love that. I also love the Mines of Moria, the whole Mines of Moria.
Oh, the Mines of Moria scene is so gorgeous.
That was the first thing they ever showed us from the movie. We were working on the special features before I do. We hadn't even seen the film, but they showed 20 minutes to us, and that whole sequence I was like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. It was amazing.
It was absolutely stunning. All right, next up. Robert Perez writes, wondering if you could recommend an editing software. Well, look, there's all your classics, Avid, and there's Final Cut. I personally really like Adobe Premiere. Premiere has grown a lot in the last number of years now. But Rob, I got to tell you, there's been a lot of talk about DaVinci Resolve.
Yep.
That it is really matured because it is not just an editor. It is the de facto standard color correction.
Yes,
it's got a lot of tools built in, and it's cheap. It's really cheap. Look, I would say this. My editing software of choice is still Premiere. But if you are wanting to get started in video editing, I have a hard time not recommending DaVinci Resolve by Blackmagic. It might be something. Have you ever played around with it? I haven't had a chance to play with it yet.
I like DaVinci Resolve. As a matter of fact, it's really interesting. The film that we're just finishing up, Tango Shalom, I was crazy enough to cut it on. I cut a feature on Final Cut X. Woo. And looking around the internet, I don't know if many people have done that. It's been a very interesting experience. Not lately. Very interesting experience. But DaVinci Resolve, we finished in DaVinci. And if I had cut in DaVinci, it would have been easier to give it to my colorist. But it really depends what you're doing. I mean, I still like Avid a lot, but you have to make sure your files are very well handled. Because
and the thing is, if you know Final Cut Pro, you know the basics of Adobe Premiere, you know the basics of DaVinci Resolve. Avid is a totally different thing. Like its workflow is so different. Like all the other ones kind of have a lot of similarities that you could probably fairly easily transition from one to the other. Avid was a completely different thing. Like I remember the first time I started playing with Avid was like 10 years ago. I'm like, this is what? Like what's going on here? It was really different.
Avid was great when I was actually cutting film that was shot on negative.
Right.
Avid was the best. And I still love Avid a lot, but I like jumping around to the systems just to keep my skills honed.
That's a good idea.
DaVinci Resolve's really cool.
All right, we move on now. Lone Wolf X6 writes, one of two, Clifford DeVoe. He was the villain in last season of Flash. Not this past season, but the previous season of Flash, which I didn't like very much. A world enlightened. Within a day, all soldiers will lay down their arms. Every nuclear weapon will be disarmed. Within 6 months, poverty, famine, disease eradicated. We will clean up the streets. People will put down their idiot phones and become curious again. And I will be there to teach them. I, not you, talking to the Flash, will save this godforsaken world. Now, I hated, and thanks for sending that in, Lone Wolf. I did not like DeVoe as a villain. I didn't. And that was probably my least favorite season. But one of the most interesting facets about the villain is one I find interesting a lot. There's very much a Thanos thing going on there too, where it is some of your most frightening bad guys are the ones who truly see themselves as the hero. The villains, every villain is the hero of their own story, but even on a global kind of scale, they see themselves, I'm the hero. I'm saving everybody. I need to do this because it's right. It's those ones that are the scariest. Now, as Endgame revealed, Thanos was just a big jackass and a very evil person. DeVoe is, at his core, he was corrupted by the power, became a very evil person, but still they saw themselves as the hero. And they played that angle of it. And I think that's probably, what you just quoted was probably the best thing from that entire season of Flash, man. That was probably the best thing from the entire season, because that's a really good quote. And probably the best representation of that character that entire season, because otherwise I didn't like him too much, but that was definitely Lone Wolf, a definite shining moment for him in the series. All right, let's see. Krypton Caged writes, "Hey John, have you seen Murder Mystery yet? I have no plans on watching Murder Mystery. I can't wait to see your reaction to the ending. The movie is hilarious. Adam and Jenny are great." I'm glad to hear you liked it, Krypton. I'm glad to hear you liked it, because I've been hearing from some other people writing to me and saying, John, if you haven't watched Murder Mystery yet, don't. So I've been hearing that from a lot of people. I'm just not down with Adam Sandler's comedies the last 10 years. I want to see him in dramas. The trailers and that thing look terrible. But hey, man, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you liked it. I've heard, actually, to be fair, I've heard from one or two other people that they liked it as well. But I've also been getting warned off by a lot of people to avoid it at all costs. I don't know, Rob, have you seen this thing yet?
No, but I've heard isn't it Netflix's biggest movie ever now?
Yes, I heard it might be absolutely their biggest film ever. Why? I have no idea.
Me neither.
And are they telling the truth? I don't know. But hey, Krypton liked it, so maybe it's got something to it. I'm just curious, did any of you guys actually see it? If so, jump down in the comments section. Let me know, or send me a message. Let me know if you saw it and if you liked it. Daniel Weissy writes, "The Endgame DLC is pathetic. I'm going Sunday." It's pathetic. I'm going Sunday. Yeah, those are the two sides of the brain. Again, this whole DLC thing, I don't think it's a big deal. It's not a big deal. Like I said in yesterday's show, I just find it a little sketchy that, hey, we're not going to show it to you when you paid us to see the movie last week, but pay us again and we'll show you this week. I find that to be a little sketchy. Again, not a big deal. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. But a little sketchy. But at the same time, of course, if I hear this Michael Pena thing, which I don't think is going to be in the movie or in the post-credit scene, but I will admit, I would be tempted to go and watch if the Michael Pena part is in there. That would be kind of cool to see, but I don't think they're going to do that. But it would be cool if they did. James Wheeler writes, "As of right now, neither Anna nor Child's Play have scores up on Rotten Tomatoes." Yeah, now we know why Anna has it, because I don't think they did press screenings at all. Child's Play, they did press screenings, and they're just not letting anybody talk about it. Big red flag, my friends. Big red flag. Sorry, had a big jump there. Hold on a second. How far back do I gotta go? I gotta go back further. Here we go. Javier Rios 405 writes, "Finally saw Dark Phoenix, and I gotta say I actually enjoyed it. It's not the best X-Men movie, and I didn't like the villain, but positives outweigh the negatives. 3.3 out of 5. I didn't think the movie was a train wreck. I thought it had some upside. Now, I don't know that I would say that the positives outweighed the negative. I don't give numerical scores. If I did, I don't know, off the top of my head, maybe I'd go like 2.5 if I did, but I don't, so I'm not going to put a lot of thought into it. But yeah, I definitely thought it had its redeeming qualities, dude. And I'll say this. Here's the thing, Rob. If I had gone to go see X-Men Dark Phoenix and I was late, like really late, like an hour and 15 minutes late, and I walked into that movie at about 1 hour and 10, 1 hour and 20 minute mark, and I just saw from that part on, I probably would have walked out going, that was a really good movie. That was really good. Unfortunately, I did not show up late. I showed up on time and saw the whole thing. And so again, Javier, I'm not sure for me personally, I'm not sure I would say that the positives outweighed the negatives, but the positives were there. They're definitely there. There is redeeming stuff about this movie, some elements that I actually truly enjoyed. And still, as celebrated as this franchise was, and as some of the best comic book movies ever, it should have ended on a stronger note. But yeah, that's as far as I'll go on that, Rob. Anyway, next. Mark Bad Olato writes, still no reviews on Rotten Tomatoes for Child's Play. Will we ever know what they are? Yeah, after the movie opens, they're hiding these reviews until after people go see the movie. They're going to hide the reviews till then. And I don't know. Who knows? Maybe this is the greatest movie of all time.
Maybe.
Maybe it's the greatest movie of all time.
Hope springs eternal. I want every movie I see to be the greatest movie of all time. I honestly go in thinking that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, red flag, ladies and gentlemen, red flag. Dervunderbar writes, the best X-Men movie is X-Men Days of Future Past. Hey, it is in my opinion, one of the best comic book movies of all time. I would definitely still put Logan ahead of it. But I love X-Men Days of Future Past. That movie is awesome. Chris Smith, writes, has anyone pointed out that the Brightburn kid is in Avengers Endgame? Many, many times, Chris. We've talked about it on this show before. Has anybody pointed out that the Brightburn kid is in Avengers Endgame? I won't say where because of spoilers, but I only noticed on my third time going. We can tell you this now. He's the kid who plays the young version of Scott Lang. When he goes, you remember when Scott's going in and out of the time thing and they keep trying to fix him? When he comes out and he's a young kid, not a baby, but he's a young kid. It's the same kid who's in Brightburn. Another movie that I wanted to like and I just didn't like all that much. I was really cheering for it though. Let's see. Garrett Couch writes, notice how Burton Batman has suit on a shelf while the new bat suits are on mannequins. Seems like it double your efforts. Take off to get it on. Honestly, I have always wondered about that, Rob, because we get these movies, whether it's a TV show like Arrow, or whether it's like a Flash, or movies like the Batman stuff. It's like, okay, now time out here for a second, Mr. Wayne. You don't let anybody down here, right? Nobody comes down to the Batcave. You have a big glass, this big glass display with your suit with a light on the bottom shining up on it, and you don't bring anybody down here. Seems to me what he would do is what I would do. Take it off, throw it over the back of a chair, and just whip it on the next time it's there. That always struck me as a little bit of funny, Rob. That has always struck me as...
Yeah, it's a little wacky.
How would you do it if you had your own superhero
I'd probably
cave?
do the same thing if I had my own superhero lair. First of all, I'd get those suits laundered. Because if you've ever been in front of the Chinese theater, you know how bad superhero suits can smell. Pretty bad. So I'd like my superhero suits to be freshly laundered. So I might have one for every day of the week.
Okay, dude, you can smell those dudes sometimes. I mean, and God bless them for what they do. It gives a lot of people joy. But as I'm walking down Hollywood Boulevard, I can smell those dudes from about 100 feet away. Sometimes it's not so great.
Not good.
Okay. Paul Manish sends in a really big super chat. Thank you for that, Paul. Appreciate that, dude. I know you questioned the quick turnaround for Game of Thrones, but won't that keep highly skilled off-screen production staff working? Otherwise, they would lose many of them to other projects and have to start from scratch. Well, first of all, I'm good with it. I'm good with them going into it right away. I say keep on that momentum, but remember, just because the last episode of Game of Thrones just aired recently doesn't mean they just finished shooting recently. They finished shooting the last episode a while ago. So there were those people that already needed other jobs and work other things. I'm sure they could find their crews and all that kind of stuff. That's probably not that big of a problem, particularly with where they shoot, because it's not like you're getting the same talent in LA is going to be hard because everything shoots here. Not everything shoots over there. But I'm with you, Paul. I'd say, hey, look, if you got a crew you like working with and they've done a great job for you, and by the way, if you want to see how great the crew of Game of Thrones is, watch that Game of Thrones final season documentary they did and put up on HBO. It's great. I really enjoyed watching that. Rob, did you ever get a chance to
Yeah, and I really liked it. I mean, look, I'll watch any. I find there's little things in life I find more inspiring than watching film crews do their jobs. I love that so much.
That's great. All right, next question up comes to us from Dur Wunderbar, who writes, must be awkward to be a wizard that can't spell. I don't know what that's... It sounds like that's a reference to something, but I don't know it off the top of my head, to be honest with you. All right, Max Obat writes... Where am I at here? Max Obat writes, growing up, I was never that into Lord of the Rings, but I rewatched them recently, and those films are incredible. Fellowship is now my favorite film of all time. Crazy how tastes change. Dude, here's the thing, Max. They're so good that you can sit down and just have a great debate about which of the three is the best. I've got a number of friends who think Two Towers might be their favorite film of all time. I know a lot of people, including myself, that thinks Return of the King is the greatest of the series. I personally think Return of the King is the greatest overall achievement. Not the best movie of all time, but the best overall achievement in the history of cinema. When you look at all the different disciplines that go into it, from art design, cinematography, the writing, the costuming, the musical score, the visual effects, the directing, the acting. When you look at all of it in one complete package, I don't know that any movie has put it together like that one has. Or Fellowship of the Ring, the one that started it all. Like that's how good that franchise is. That people debate about which one's the best. Kind of like Godfather 1 and 2. The debate isn't, are they amongst the greatest films of all time? The debate is Godfather 1 the greatest movie of all time? Or is Godfather 2 the greatest film of all time? And it kind of goes in there. And Rob, I just don't know that we can talk enough about Lord of the Rings. And there are people, it's been a while, there are people who still haven't seen it. Guys, watch these films.
They're so good. And they're so satisfying in terms of a trilogy.
Yeah.
Because they had the books to draw from, and they talk about a movie that sticks the landing.
Oh, my God. And they made changes. And look, just because books are good doesn't mean for the look, it's helpful when you got good source material. But we've seen lots of great books that get adaptations that suck, right? The books were great, but the art of translating that onto the screen is a very specialized art. And there are some people try to go, oh, well, the Lord of the Rings movies are only good because the books are so good. If that argument had any validity to it, then every great book that got translated would be great. And it's rare. It's rare. I've had the same discussion with people say, well, the only reason Game of Thrones was any good is because of the books from J.R. Martin. False. Because if that was true, then every adaptation would be great, and 95% of them suck. And so when you get stuff like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, you got to appreciate it. You got to appreciate that. Anyway, next one. Dear Stalker writes, over under 20% within the next 10 years, a movie joins the $1 billion club before it's released due to the rise in online ticket sales. That's an interesting question, but here's the thing. Those numbers don't become official until the movie opens anyway. Rob, it could be that Avengers Endgame could fall under that. There is a possibility that worldwide it had already sold $1 billion worth of tickets before the movie even opened, but it doesn't actually become an official number until opening day.
Right.
So dear, when you're asking, is it over under 20%? I got to say it might have already happened. It might have already happened. So I will definitely take the over on that. Rob, what would you say to that?
I think so. I think that could be because especially if the tickets go on sale, can you imagine day and date worldwide?
Right.
You can buy advanced tickets everywhere. Maybe.
Interesting. All right. John Likes Things sends in a couple super chats. I like the name. It sends in a couple super. Thank you, John Likes Things. Roke Tutu writes, 6 villains have been confirmed for the Batman movie. No, they have not. The other 5 will be studio execs. That's great. And just again, by the way, they're just like people are running around saying, did you hear there's a new cut of Endgame? No, there's not. Did you hear that it's been confirmed? No, as far as I know, no, it is not. There are reports saying that there are going to be 6. But it has not been confirmed. It could very well work out that way. But I'm just saying, just be clear on that. It's not been confirmed. But the other 5 will be studio execs. That's funny. Suthius writes, just saw the trailer for the new Trolls sequel. What? Yep. Trolls, the sequel is coming. And that movie was actually a moneymaker. You know what? I liked the first Trolls movie.
Really?
I did.
I didn't see it.
I thought it was I thought it was cute. And the music was kind of toe-tapping. And I thought it looked terrible. I did. I thought it looked terrible. And then I saw it, and almost everybody who saw it was like, you know what, that was actually pretty cute. And it is. So I don't know if they needed a sequel, but I'm going to give it a shot because what can I say? I like the first one, man. I did. Frankie Gouge writes, double facepalm, 20,000 petition Netflix to cancel Offensive Good Omens. It's on Amazon. Who cares? Look, you can make up a petition for anything and get 50,000. I tell you right now, I can start a petition for anything. You name it. And I can have 30,000 signatures within a week. On anything, because either people think it's a lark or people, whatever. Danny DeVito had 70,000 people signed the petition to have him be Wolverine, for heaven's sakes. So don't, Facebook, whatever. I wouldn't worry about it, Frankie. I wouldn't worry about it, brother. All right, Paul Manesh writes, would adding ads be difficult for Netflix if their shows aren't structured for mid-episode ad-spaced cliffhangers? Well, here's the thing. A lot of the shows still are. They still do strategically put in places where it could happen. So no, I don't think it would be all that awkward. I think it would be fine if they decided to do that. And who cares? I mean, right now, I watch streaming services, right? Like CW. they don't have the same ad breaks as regular broadcast TV do. So sometimes, a sentence ends, boom, they put in an ad. It's fine. It's really not that big of a deal. So it would be fine if they ever did something like that, which I'm not sure that they would anyway. Der Wunderbar writes, I recommend The Chef Show with Jon Favreau. You know what? Other people have been recommending it. I love the movie Chef. I've been hearing people say they really like this show. They did a little show version of it, but it's more like a reality thing. It's not like a continuation of the movie. I got to see this thing. Der Wunderbar also follows up with, what kind of blade would Bob carry? I don't know what we're talking about. Is that from What About Bob? Which I don't think it is.
Did he make a mistake? It looked like...
What kind of blade would Bob carry?
He says underneath, Rob.
Okay,
is that me?
Yeah. What kind of blade would you carry, Rob?
I'd carry a blade that was made by Gerber knives, probably. But no, I would Glamdring. I would carry. My blade would be Gandalf's sword.
Ooh. Chad's Big Huge Geek Commentary writes, everyone wanting JJ to take over DC property with Warner, and I'm saying, can we have him save those Fantastic Beasts movies first? First of all, I quite liked Crimes of Grindelwald. I quite liked it. I'm not a Potterhead. I thought it was quite good. So I don't know, but they are definitely weaker compared to the overall Harry Potter movies. And I attribute it to the fact that J.K. Rowling tried to do the screenplay on them. She didn't do the screenplays for the Harry Potter movies. And writing novels is different than writing a screenplay. And I kind of suspect that J.K. should let a screenwriter write the screenplay. She can set up the story, write the 20-page outline, and then let a screenwriter actually flesh out the script and do it. But it would be interesting. Look, first of all, I'm just fascinated to see what he's going to be involved with, whether it's going to be a Superman movie, whether it's going to be something like that, starting new franchises, whatever. They're paying a lot of money for him, $500 million. So they better kick the tires and get a lot of mileage out of this deal, if you know what I'm talking about. Ryan Lohner writes, no one gets one of Airplane's biggest jokes anymore. That at the time, Leslie Nielsen was a serious actor and is using all his usual gravitas. Leslie Nielsen had done comedy before that, did he not?
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, but not like that.
Not
but
like
yes,
that, yeah.
But I think that's inferred. I mean, I think you understand that even if you don't know that he is a serious actor, it's still, he's so serious and he's in a comedy. And everyone else is being funny. So I think it still works.
By the way, good Canadian kid, that Leslie Nielsen. DMV fan 123 writes, thoughts on Donald Glover's Atlanta from FX. I didn't love the last season. Loved the first season, though. I didn't hate the last season. I'm not saying that at all. I don't think the last season lived up to the first season, but I still quite enjoy the show, and I'm looking forward to the next season. Selma McShave writes, not impossible with one-off films with Venom via Portal. But ridiculous. Maybe not impossible, but ridiculous, I think. Der Wunderbar writes, I simply love Inside Out. Oh, so do I, man. That movie, I still remember the first time I saw like 10 minutes of footage from it at a CinemaCon from a number of years ago, and I'm like, this could be one of Pixar's best movies. And it's not Pixar's best movie, but it's amazing and wonderful. And I just love that movie, Der Wunderbar. Alan Gonzalez writes, love your new camera, John. Well, actually, here's the funny thing. I got this new camera. And by the way, it's the same camera that's on Rob right now. It's the exact same camera. I bought these new cameras a little bit ago. So I've had these new cameras for about a month. What I did just get 2 days ago is a brand new lens that I bought for this camera, and I'm loving it so far. So thank you for I love when people comment on the tech gear stuff because I'm a big tech head, but yeah, I love it as well. And I think I'm going to get the same lens to put on the camera that's on Robert as well at some point here. Colin Parks writes, although it's impossible to make Robert Meyer Burnett look any more handsome than he already is.
Come now,
but we'll give it a shot. Colin Parks writes, love the channel. You are the best film pundit I've encountered over my years of jumping into rabbit holes on YouTube. You are the first pundit I have stuck with, and have a fantastic day. Aw, dude, Colin, thank you so much, man. It's always nice when somebody wants to just write something in just to say something positive and nice. And I appreciate that very much, man. I love what we do here. We love that we get to just get on, have a community that we get to talk movies with and just have a good time. And thank you, Colin, for being here and being a part of it. And I really appreciate you sharing the thoughts, dude. That's very nice. All right, Suthius writes, I explode with joy all over everyone as well. What's that a reference to?
I don't know.
Oh, I think, was that a reference to how I was describing
You're about your former Film HQ.
Yes. Yeah, okay, yes, she does. She explodes with joy all over the place. Michael Shepis writes, or just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Michael. Andrew Olds writes, over under 40% Star Wars 9 sticks the landing better than Game of Thrones. I'll go over 40% on that. Now, remember, a lot of people don't like the way Game of Thrones did it, but I did. I love the way they stuck the landing on Game of Thrones. But 40% is a low number, so I will take the over on that. Jeffrey Niffen writes, you forgot Hemsworth in Cabin in the Woods. I think, remember, I said it was just the last 10 movies. So, there was one or two before that, but I just did the last previous 10. I didn't forget about it. I just did the last previous 10. Let's see here. Jim Kolura writes, highly recommend you guys read the acclaimed comic Die. It's like an adult version of the 80s D&D cartoon. Rumor it's been optioned for a TV series. Well, first of all, you should understand this. Every comic book out there has been optioned for a TV show or movie. I got a buddy of mine who actually owns a comic company. And you may have heard of it, you may have not, but a buddy of mine owns a comic company, and almost every title they've got has been picked up for option for movie and TV, so that's not rare. But I've never heard of this one, Die. Have you, Rob?
No, I don't know it.
You don't know that one either? Okay. But, okay, Jim, thank you for putting it on our radar. I love when people put stuff on our radar. Michael Shepis writes, love your book, The Pride. Oh, thank you so much, man. Chance for an autobiography. I don't know that an autobiography on me would be very interesting, to be honest with you. I love my life, but I'm not sure that an autobiography on me would be very interesting. And thank you, Michael, for reading the book. I appreciate that, man. And thank you for the kind words. So thank you very much. Makes me feel good. Ryan Lohner writes, a naked American man stole my balloons.
A naked American man stole my balloons.
Clearly you know the reference. What is it?
It's an American Werewolf in London.
Oh, my God.
When he's trying to run home.
That's right. Stole my balloon. I totally forgot, but it's been probably...
I always love that.
2 or 3 years since I've seen it. You're right. Good one. Good one. Patrick Conway writes, you forgot Sherlock Holmes 1 and 2. Regarding what?
That's Robert Downey Jr., but those were before.
Those were before. I didn't forget about those. I said in the last 8 years, these are the ones this is the one he's done. So that was kind of going before that. I didn't forget about them, Patrick. I'm Upset writes, where we are. I'm Upset writes, you think Warner Brothers will make another Steel film in the DC? I do not.
Heck yeah, bring it on.
Only if you get Shaquille O'Neal back again. Only if you get Shaquille O'Neal back. Dervonderbar writes, worst actor ever, Tommy Wiseau, easily. Well, I mean, I'm sure there have been worse, but just ones that never made it into movies. But Tommy's pretty bad. Stella McShave writes, I love the Chernobyl miniseries, but would have loved to have seen a 3+ hour version in the theaters with a huge audience. It would be rough, though. Yeah, man. And you know what, Rob? Honestly, that is one. You could have done that as a 2.5, 3 hour movie. You could have. And I think you could have made it very impactful and really, because it wasn't, ultimately, it really wasn't that much longer than that anyway.
Right.
I would have been down for that, but hey, I love what we got. Either way, I love what we got. It might be the best.
Apparently, the communists are angry over in Russia. They're not fans of the Chernobyl miniseries,
really,
which is interesting considering, in my mind, it shows how there were heroes over there.
A lot of heroism amongst a lot of Russians doing that. Yeah, no, it's true. All right. Next up, where are we at here? CZ Thomas 97 writes, pretty shocked to see Child's Play with 64%. Wait, so wait a minute. Have reviews started going up? Let me check this here. Child's Play, Rotten Tomatoes 2019. Let's see. You must be looking at a different... No. You're not looking at a different one. Because I just brought it up and there were still no reviews. And then I hit refresh. And there are reviews now. There are reviews. 28.
69% on the tomato
And
meter.
it's not like there's only 4 reviews. There's 28 of them. 28 of them.
Wow.
The Wrap liked it. New York Times didn't like it. Guardian liked it.
A cut above your average horror reboot.
Entertainment Weekly did not like it.
The Guardian liked it.
Well, look at that. Now, it is only 28, but still, that's more than 3 or 4. I don't know. Maybe I'll have... Because I got tickets to go see Child's Play tonight. And I decided I wasn't going to go because I'm going to go see Toy Story first, and then I was going to go see Child's Play. And then yesterday when I saw they still hadn't released the review embargo, I said, well, screw that. I'm not going to go see it. Maybe I got to revisit. I don't know. We'll see when more than 28 reviews come in. We'll see. But That is shocking. Shocking in a good way. Shocking in a good way, but shocking nonetheless. All right, we only got time for a couple more quick ones here, guys. Jonathan C. writes, do you think Tom's Spider-Man meets the previous Spider-Mans like Garfield, Tobey and Garfield since No, absolutely not. Amy Berg writes, John, you really haven't seen Frank with Fassbender and Donald Gleason. It's one of my absolute favorites. Have you seen it, Rob? Males, you both laugh and cry. I have not seen that one.
I've seen it's the movie where Michael Fassbender wears a mask on his face, well, a giant mask on his face the whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
The whole movie?
Yeah.
This thing did
well,
not. This
you got to see it.
It didn't get it couldn't have gotten a theatrical
release.
Oh,
it did. It did. It got a brief theatrical release. I saw it. I want to say I saw it at a Lemley Theater.
Okay, so it was probably very limited.
Yeah, it was limited.
Okay. So it didn't get where I was. Yeah, no, I've never seen it, Amy. I'll be honest with you.
You got to see it.
Okay. Well, listen, if Amy recommends it and if Rob recommends it, maybe I got to get out there and see it. Next one up, and the last question of the day comes to us from Jewish Singer 613 writes, did you see Endgame again or planning to see it again with the added post-credit stuff? Did you get any info on it? Well, first of all, it hasn't come out yet. The movie's already in theaters, but they haven't added the post-credit stuff yet. So no, I have not done that yet. I don't think I'm planning on it either. I'll just wait till it comes out later. But no additional information on it. Other than, again, guys, when you see people saying, Endgame's being re-released. No, it's not. It's in release right now. It's in almost 1,500 theaters nationwide right now. They might expand it. They might go back into a couple theaters, but it's not a re-release. Understand that. Semantics doesn't really matter. I get it. But the important thing is, though, if you see people saying it's a new cut of the movie, they've added footage to the movie. No, they haven't. Just make sure people know that, because I don't want people going into it with this expectation that they're about to see a slightly different version of the movie. You're not. It's the exact same movie. They didn't add any scenes to it. All they've done is put in some post-credit stuff, which is cool. That's fine. I just don't want people to go in with the wrong expectations, because that always sucks when that sort of happens. All right, guys, listen. For everybody else who sent in questions, from Charles NC, the Entertainment Elite blog, Venkat Ram, Film Fan Rant, all the way down, do not worry. I'm going to get to your questions a little bit later today. I will do a companion video a little bit later today to properly answer all your questions in a video that you guys sent in. We've just hit the 2-hour mark though right now, and so we're a little bit out of time at the moment. I want to thank all of you guys for being here and being a part of the show today, but especially I want to thank Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnettwork, or the website, theburnettwork.net.
And you guys, of course, can just follow me on social media all over the place, simply at John Campea. Don't forget, a little bit later again, guys, that companion video answering the rest of your questions, because we still got a few we got to get to. And of course, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. Make sure you come back and join me then. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Have a magnificent day, and until next time, bye-bye.